Chapter 120. Shi Fengju hadn't realized what was going on until he saw his wife's bashful expression. He subconsciously felt a bit excited and amused. He pursed his lips and deliberately didn't mention it. He wanted to see how she would react. "It's getting late. Let's go to bed early. We still have things to do tomorrow," Shi Fengju said indifferently as usual. "But," Sang-won frowned, "there's only one quilt. How can we sleep?" "It's okay. We'll just make do with it." Now was the perfect time to play dumb. "You." Sang-won's eyes reddened and she turned around. What did he mean by that? According to the contract, he was going to divorce her next year and send her away from the Shi family. He was going to spend the rest of his life with his beloved cousin. How could he say such shameless words at this time? What did he think of her, Sang-won, as? Shi Fengju was also anxious. He hurriedly grabbed her arm and said, "Won-young, I didn't mean anything else." I'm sorry. Don't be angry." Shi Fengju's eyes darkened. It seemed that she was determined to keep her distance from him and leave him. He had tested her so many times, but her attitude hadn't changed at all. "Won-young, oh Won-young, can't you feel how I feel about you? I want to be with you forever and be at the same level as you, only you." Sang-won raised her handkerchief to wipe her tears. She turned around and shook off his hand. "Won-young, I'm sorry. Don't be angry. I was just joking." Shi Fengju smiled bitterly and kept apologizing. His hands, which were hanging by his side, tightened. "Won-young, oh Won-young, as long as I don't let you go, you won't be able to leave. Even if you're a rock, I'll warm you up." It was just a joke. Sang-won's heart was filled with uneasiness. So it was just a joke. Her heart had been slightly moved at that moment. It turned out that she had been overthinking things. "Where are you going?" Shi Fengju was shocked to see her leave, so he hurriedly pulled her back. "I'm going to ask my sister-in-law for a quilt," Sang-won said angrily. She shook him off forcefully and left in a fit of pique. Shi Fengju paused for a moment, then smiled. She was angry. She even looked a little jealous. Was he thinking too much? Shi Fengju rubbed his nose. But no matter what, he felt relieved when he saw her angry look. When Sang-won came in with a quilt, Shi Fengju had already returned to normal. He hurriedly took it with a smile and said, "Won-young, the floor is cold." Sang-won did not say anything. She got on the bed with her clothes on and said, "It's quite cold at night in the countryside. Be careful not to catch a cold. You sleep here." Compared to the Shi family, the floor was covered with a thick carpet and there was no mattress for him to sleep on. Sang-won did not dare to let him sleep on the floor. If he were to catch a cold, Wang Shi would definitely be annoyed if one of the servants were to find out about it. Not to mention the distant ones, even her own brother and sister-in-law would blame her for not taking good care of him. Besides, she was not so vicious as to watch him catch a cold and fall sick. "Okay." Shi Fengju smiled. He put the quilt on the bed, took off his shoes, and got on the bed. He closed the curtains and lay down gently, sighing comfortably. Sleeping on the bed was still the most comfortable. He had not slept on a bed for a long time. He originally wanted to say these words from the bottom of his heart, but he was afraid that Sang-won would be embarrassed, so he only sighed. Sang-won was not stupid. She naturally understood the meaning behind his sigh. She quickly closed her eyes and turned her head to the inside. Speaking of which, she felt a little apologetic. Although he was the one who volunteered to sleep on the floor on the night of their wedding, she did not expect that he would be able to persist for so long. She thought that he would find an excuse to sleep in the study room after a few days. That night, Shi Fengju slept very soundly. Although he did not dare to cross the line, touch her, hug her, or kiss her, she was sleeping on the same bed as him. He could see her when he turned his head, and he could smell her faint fragrance when he breathed, which made him feel particularly happy. He never knew that he was such an easily satisfied person. Just lying quietly with her like this, he felt incomparable happiness. His heart was stuffed to the brim. On the contrary, Sang-won did not sleep well the whole night. It was not because she was worried that Shi Fengju would do something to her. She still trusted his character. It was because there was a man beside her that she could neither advance nor retreat. It made her feel very conflicted. She did not even dare to move, and she tried her best to hold her breath. In the dark night, Sang-won could hear his even breathing, and she could feel his warm breath on her cheeks and neck. This made Sang-won even more upset, and only after a long while did she fall asleep in a daze. When she woke up, the sky was already bright. Sang-won gently opened her eyes and found that Shi Fengju's head had come close, almost resting on her shoulder. He was sleeping soundly, and her neck was touched by his breath. Sang-won was so scared that her body went limp. She glanced at him and saw that he was still sleeping with his eyes closed. She hurriedly calmed her racing heart and gently moved in. She let out a long sigh of relief, sat up gently, and reached out to push his quilt. Eldest young master, get up." Shi Fengju had actually woken up when she moved, but he was afraid that she would be embarrassed and did not dare to open his eyes. In all honesty, he did not really want to take advantage of her, but he did not know how he got close to her. Wan Nyong would not blame him for being frivolous, right? After all, he was asleep and did not know, right? Shi Fengju secretly hated himself. Why did he pretend to be husband and wife when they got married? But now, he had put himself in a trap. He could not take it off even if he wanted to. She was clearly his legal wife, but he could not even touch her. Shi Fengju pretended to open his eyes in a daze and blinked. "Oh, it's so bright." He sat up with a smile and asked, "Did you sleep well last night?" Sang-won nodded vaguely and said softly, "Move aside, I'll go down and get your clothes." "Okay." Shi Fengju moved aside, and Sang-won got out of bed. She took the clothes from the bundle and helped him put them on. When Luya woke up in the morning, she rolled up her sleeves and helped Feng Shi with all the chores in the kitchen. She let Jida wait at the door to serve the two of them. Xing Ji heard some movement in the room and gently knocked on the door. "Young master, young mistress." When Sang-won opened the door, Xing Ji saw that they were already dressed. She smiled and said, "This servant has been waiting at the door since early in the morning. Young mistress, why didn't you tell this servant to do it yourself? This servant will go and get some water to wash your face." When the two finished freshening up and came out, Sang Hong and Sang Yufei were also up. They sat down and chatted for a while before eating breakfast. Not long after breakfast, people came to visit them one after another. Squire Lu from the neighboring Lu village, the Wan family from Yonglu Bay, and Moneybag Zhou from Shaowan village. In the afternoon, many people from the town and neighboring villages came. Some of them were the masters of the household, while others sent their sons or housekeepers. All of them brought generous gifts, such as silver, fields, houses, servants, antiques, paintings, ginseng, bird's nest, silk, and so on. Lu Ye and Xing Ji were in charge of serving tea to the guests. Shi Ming was in charge of receiving and delivering the gifts in an orderly manner. Everyone knew that it wasn't just their own family who had come to pay a visit. Seeing that top scorer Sang had accepted the gifts, they happily sat down for the time it took to brew a cup of tea before taking their leave, saying that they would meet again in the future. Sang Yufei thanked them and accepted the other gifts. Only the servants and houses were rejected. The person who came tried to persuade them, saying that the people who were sent were honest people who knew how to handle matters. If they did not like them, they could just sell them. However, when he saw Shi Fengju smiling at the side, he understood. What kind of servants did the Shi family not have? There was no need to use the people they sent. Looking at the two ladies who were serving tea and pouring water, the way they acted was even more appropriate than the young ladies of wealthy families. Also, the servant who led the way did not look like he came from an ordinary wealthy family. As for the house, Sang Yufei said that he was living well in Sai village and would not leave. That house was useless to him, so he rejected it. The person who came did not insist and only thought about giving another big gift later. The Sang family was busy receiving the guests and receiving the gifts. On the other side, Rio Kuwabara and Li were so jealous that they could not sit still. Rio Kuwabara was shocked by Uncle Lu and the others, so he did not dare to go and cause trouble. However, he was not willing to leave empty-handed. At night, he sent Li over to try and get a share of the pie. Sang Hong was helpless when he saw this. He sighed to Sang Yufei and said, "Don't worry about anything. Just give them a little. Otherwise, when will this end? It will be a joke if people see it. Then wouldn't we be letting them take advantage of us for nothing?" Fong was not convinced. Sang Yufei smiled bitterly and sighed. "Big brother is right. We can be ruthless, but we can't be too ruthless. After all, we are a family connected by blood." Fong was speechless. Although Rio Kuwabara and his wife went overboard, and the two families were indeed separated, blood was destined. There was no choice and no way to cut it off. If they really went overboard, it was hard to say if the villagers' attitude would change. They would think that they were too cold-blooded. More or less, there had to be some meaning. People could only be called human when they had human feelings. "Enough. You guys don't have to do anything. I'll go." Fong patted her chest. If they wanted to give it, then so be it. It was hard for the brothers to say anything, but she could. Sang Hong and Sang Yufei thought about it and agreed. Thus, Fong took 100 taels of silver, 2 bolts of cloth, and half a jean of bird's nest. Together with Lu Ye, she sent it over. When Li and Rio Kuwabara saw that she took the initiative to come over, they immediately became complacent and began to nitpick again, complaining that the things were too little. Fong sneered, "You think it's too little? How much should second Uncle Sang and second Aunt Sang get when we return the gifts to the various families in a few days? Do you want us to look for Ri Zhong and Uncle Lu to judge?" Only then did the two of them shut up. "Ai Lu Ye, quickly invite Wan Nyong to our house. We have always treated her as our own niece. She can't be so heartless like others." Li called out to Lu Ye. Chapter 121. Listening to one more word from them would shorten his life. Fong Shi rolled her eyes silently, turned around, and left first. Lu Ye was no longer the Lu Ye of the past. She smiled and said, "Is that so? When my young mistress got married, I remember that second old Mistress Sang did not even give her anything to add to her dowry. To treat your own niece like this, you can be considered the #1 person in the world. You." Li was instantly enraged. "Impudent! A little girl like you dares to talk back to me. How dare you? I'm just a little girl. I'm not even part of your family. It's not up to you to lecture me. You asked me a question and I answered it. How is that talking back to you? How dare you lecture me? Who are you to me?" Lu Ye sneered. "I advise the both of you to stop. Don't think that everyone is a fool. For the Shi family to be able to earn such a fortune today, none of them are fools. I'll tell you the truth. My young master hates greedy and shameless people the most. How could he let young mistress come here to be tainted with bad luck? If you know what's good for you, don't bother our young mistress anymore. Otherwise, Kiki, if young master doesn't have some tricks up his sleeves, how could the Shi family's hundreds of shops spread across both sides of the canal and tens of thousands of subordinates listen to him respectfully?" You. Rio Kuwabara was trembling with anger. "Who taught you to say these words?" "Ah. I say, second old Master Sang, you're actually quite smart. It's better not to let others point out some things, or else you won't be able to keep your face." Lu Ye said coldly, "It's whoever you think it is. What's important is that you listen to my words. Otherwise, I don't know what will happen." Rio Kuwabara was shocked and angry. He was sure that it was Shi Fengju who made Lu Ye say those words. He did not expect that this person was actually, don't think that this world belongs to their Shi family. Isn't he afraid that I'll spread these words and ruin his reputation? Lu Ye laughed as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. "Well, if you want to say it, just say it. Our young master has never been alone with you before, right? I didn't say anything to you. You're spreading rumors. You're going to jail. What's more, You want to influence our young master. Are you crazy? Forget it, I really have nothing to say to someone like you. Take your time, I'll take my leave first. After saying that, Luya giggled. She turned around and left, ignoring them. Rio Kuwabara slumped back into his chair. His clenched fists were still trembling, and he was breathing heavily. Outrageous. Preposterous. This bastard. Cursing was one thing, but he was truly afraid. The only reason he dared to challenge the Sang brothers was because of his identity as their uncle, and because he was used to bullying them, so he was full of confidence. The moment the Sang brothers refused to listen to him, he became mentally unbalanced and became angry out of shame. Moreover, Sang Yufei had no choice but to cherish his reputation. However, Shi Fengju was different. He had nothing to threaten them with. If they said that they would not acknowledge him, then they would not acknowledge him. If he angered them, they could just order their subordinates to move a finger. If he suffered a loss, he would not even have a place to cry out. Rio Kuwabara was finally scared witless. After 2 days of bustling traffic at Sang Hong's house, a banquet was held to entertain the villagers. Strangely, Rio Kuwabara and his wife, as well as Sang Ro and her sister, did not come. Sang Hong asked Fong to invite them. Fong was too lazy to go to their house alone, so she called a neighbor's sister-in-law to go with her. Unexpectedly, Rio Kuwabara and his wife ate the wrong medicine and found an excuse to not come. How could the Sang Hong brothers know that they were scared by Lu Ya's words? They asked someone to send a few bowls of food over, which they accepted. Thus, the villagers could not help but sigh and praise the Sang brothers for being humane and tolerant. After a few days of bustling about, the matter finally came to an end. Shi Fengju and Sang Wan also had to return to Qingzhou. Before leaving, Sang Wan was very reluctant. She repeatedly said to Sang Yufei, "Second brother, when you pass by Qingzhou on your way to the capital, remember to come and see me." The capital was thousands of miles away from here. The journey was filled with wind, frost, rain, and snow. Just thinking about it made one feel uneasy. "Don't worry. I'll go. Furthermore, I promised Aunt to exchange pointers with Brother Feng Hua. I'll definitely go." Sang Yufei smiled. "That's good." Sang Wan was finally relieved. She smiled and said, "Then we'll be waiting for you in the middle of the 10th month. Second brother," Shi Fengju smiled and said, "you'll be staying in the capital for a few months. It'll be inconvenient if you don't have someone to take care of you. This attendant is different from other servants. If you can't find a suitable one, it'll only make things worse. If you don't mind, Shi Ming can follow you in the future." Sang Yufei couldn't help but look at Shi Ming. Seeing Shi Ming nod at him and grin, he knew that Shi Fengju had already told Shi Ming about it. "Second brother, please accept brother-in-law's kindness. I see that Shi Ming is very efficient and quick-witted. It's just that I'll owe brother-in-law another favor." Sang Hong smiled and cupped his hands. He was a little worried about his younger brother going so far away by himself. Furthermore, Shi Ming had been running around to help him the past few days. He was indeed a very smart and honest person. "This little one thanks brother-in-law for the praise." Shi Ming smiled and bowed. Everyone laughed when they saw this. "Big brother, don't be so polite." "Then it's settled." Shi Fengju scolded Shi Ming with a smile, "You're quite quick-witted. Listen carefully, from today onwards, you're no longer a member of the Shi family. You'll be second Master Sang's attendant. Quickly pay your respects to your new master. Do your job well and don't embarrass me." "Yes, young master." Shi Ming hurriedly kowtowed to Sang Yufei and acknowledged him as his master. He couldn't bear to part with his old master. After getting up, he looked at Shi Fengju and asked, "Will this servant still be able to see young master in the future?" "What nonsense." Shi Fengju was both angry and amused. He said, "Our families are in-laws. It'll be difficult for you to not see me in the future. I'm curious, what's in that head of yours?" He then turned to Sang Yufei and said, "Second brother, Shi Ming will be your attendant from now on. If there's any servant who bullies his master, acts impudently, or disobeys the rules, punish him or sell him. You don't have to worry about me. Brother-in-law's servant will definitely not be like that. You're thinking too much. However, I'll remember these words. Sang Yufei smiled. This servant will definitely serve second master well. Young master, please rest assured. Shi Ming straightened his back and made a solemn vow. Among Shi Fengju's trusted servants, Chong Huan was mainly in charge of external affairs. Shi Ming, on the other hand, was more in charge of serving in the study room. Previously, Shi Fengju had ordered him to serve Ran Jixian. However, he had been despised by Ran Jixian. Shi Ming was extremely angry in his heart. He thought to himself, I'm a professional. I've served young master for so many years, and young master has never said anything about it. Why is it that when it comes to you, everything is wrong? Now that he was following Sang Yufei, Shi Ming swore to himself that he would not let Sang Yufei say anything bad about him. He thought to himself, do you think I'm not worthy of serving in the study room? Now that I'm following Duke Jiuan, who knows, I might even become the top scholar next year. When the time comes, you'll know whether or not I, Shi Ming, will be serving in the study room. After Shi Fengju and Sang Wan left, the Sang family began to count the gifts they had received over the past few days. Yiqing, who didn't know, jumped in fright. After half a day of hard work, it was clear that there were nearly 1,000 mu of fertile land, more than 4,000 taels of gold and silver, and about 200 to 300 pieces of antiques, paintings, utensils, ginseng, bird's nest, silk clothing, shoes, and hats. It was impossible to estimate their value in such a short time. The family couldn't help but worry. How would they prepare a gift in return if they didn't know how much the gifts were worth? Furthermore, the gold and silver could be used to buy gifts for others. However, it was inconvenient to give a gift to another family. Moreover, whether a few thousand taels of silver was enough or how to buy the gifts was a matter of knowledge. Furthermore, it was unlikely that they would be able to buy anything good in Willow Town. Sang Hong and Sang Yufei couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. Returning a gift was actually so difficult. However, this matter couldn't wait. In another month, Sang Yufei would have to leave for the capital. He would have to stay at the Shi family for at least 8 to 10 days. In that case, he would have to leave by the end of October at the latest. First master, second master, please don't be anxious. Shi Ming smiled and said, Young master has instructed this servant that he will send someone over in 2 days' time. The Shi household has yet to send second master a congratulatory gift. Sang Hong and Sang Yufei's hearts instantly relaxed. They couldn't help but sigh, thank goodness brother-in-law is here. Otherwise, this matter would have been difficult to handle. Sang Hong then instructed Sang Yufei, when you go to the Shi family, you must learn from the Shi family's third young master. Consider it as repaying brother-in-law. Don't worry, big brother. Third young master and I hit it off very well. We have a good chat. Sang Yufei smiled. That's good. Then I'm relieved. Sang Hong smiled. He was originally a little worried that the third young master of the Sang family would inevitably be arrogant and have a young master's temper. He was thinking of instructing his second brother to treat the third young master well for the sake of his brother-in-law. Who would have thought that the two of them would hit it off? All right. Fong suddenly smiled. Yesterday, Auntie Wong from Willow Bay came to talk to me. Second brother, you're not young anymore. Previously, you were afraid of being affected by your studies. Now that you've passed the GUN, our whole family can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Isn't it time to consider marriage? I heard from Auntie Wong that there are quite a few girls who are not bad. Your sister-in-law is right. Sang Hong nodded. This matter should be considered. Wan Yang now has someone to rely on for the rest of her life. That's one less thing for me to worry about. You've also married and started a family. Big brother can finally be at ease. That Auntie Wong probably wouldn't dare to casually introduce you to anyone. Since she said that they should be good, we should also ask around and settle this matter. No need, no need. Who knew that Sang Yufei, who had always respected his big brother and sister-in-law, would jump up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He hurriedly refused, "Please don't. Big brother, sister-in-law, I don't want to think about this right now. Let's wait until after the general examinations. I'm not asking you to get married right now. I just want you to take a look at the girl first. If she's really not bad, then settle down first and wait for you to come back next year before getting married. This good girl won't wait for anyone. If you miss it, then you miss it." Fong smiled. "Don't worry. Sister-in-law isn't a greedy person. She won't casually book you. I'll definitely ask around about the girl's character and appearance." Chapter 122. I don't mean anything else. Sang Yufei hurriedly said, "Of course I trust sister-in-law. But, I really don't want to talk about marriage now. Big brother, sister-in-law, if anyone asks you to help me reject them. No matter what, we'll talk about it after the exam next spring." Sang Yufei laughed self-deprecatingly. "Maybe I'll fail the exam. The girl's family will look down on me and want to break off the engagement. Wouldn't it be ugly then?" "Nonsense. Ba, don't jinx it." Sang Hong and Fong both stared at him. "How can you say that? Who would say that about themselves?" Sang Hong was dissatisfied. "That's right." Fong also said, "If you're worried about this, don't worry. Even if you don't pass the exam, no one will dare to look down on you just because of Jiuan. Besides, just because you don't pass next year doesn't mean you won't pass in the future. Isn't that right? You're not young anymore. If you don't think about it, when will it happen? Once it's settled, we can help you prepare at home." "There's really no need." Sang Yufei was anxious, but he tried his best to be calm and patient. Maybe there'll be a better marriage in the future." "Why be anxious now? I really don't have the mood right now." Sang Hong and Fong looked at each other, confused. Did this kid take the wrong medicine? Why was he suddenly so anxious? They had never seen him lose his composure like this. "Second younger brother, do you have a girl in mind?" Fong Shi was more perceptive than Sang Hong. She rolled her eyes and asked with a smile. No. Sister-in-law, what are you saying? How could it be?" Sang Yufei quickly shook his head to deny it. Fong was even more certain that there was a problem. She smiled and said, "If there really is one, then it's nothing. If that's the case, you can tell sister-in-law which family she belongs to. Sister-in-law will send a matchmaker to propose marriage and settle this matter. Won't you be at ease then?" "Sister-in-law," Sang Yufei smiled bitterly, "I study in the academy every day. How would I know any girls? I'm really not in the mood right now." Sang Hong and Fong tried to persuade him again and again, but Sang Yufei just wouldn't listen. The couple had no choice but to give in to him. In the carriage, Sang Wan was very grateful to Shi Fengju for everything he had done for the Sang family. She attentively served him tea and snacks. "I've delayed young master for a few days. Is there anything wrong with the business?" Sang Wan asked with a smile. "I won't. I've already told them before I came. If there's really an emergency, someone will come on a fast horse to inform me. Don't worry." Shi Fengju smiled. "That's good." Sang Wan smiled and said, "Otherwise, it would make people feel bad." Shi Fengju sighed and said, "But after we go back, we still have to be busy for a while. After all, there are some things that are inconvenient for the people below to make decisions, so they can only be put aside for the time being." Sang Wan immediately looked a little apologetic. "Wouldn't that be very difficult?" "That's right." Shi Fengju rubbed his temples. "The Shi family is such a big business. There are no less than a few hundred big and small matters added up in a day. It can't be helped even if it's hard. Who told me to be the eldest son of my parents?" Sang Wan couldn't help but sympathize with him. "Young master, you can just leave such matters to the people below. Don't tire yourself out. You haven't had a good rest these few days. You have to take it easy when you go back. It won't be fun if you fall sick. No, Shifengju gave her a meaningful glance and smiled. I've actually had a good rest these few days. Really? I've been lying with you every night. I'm afraid that tonight I'll have to. Shifengju subconsciously raised his eyebrows. After eating meat for a few days, it seemed a little unbearable to go back and eat vegetables. Sangwon was stunned at first. When she came back to her senses and saw the meaning in his eyes, she couldn't help but blush and glare at him. Shifengju saw her charming and cute eyes and his heart itched. He couldn't help but want to reach out and touch her face, but he didn't dare to be rash. He coughed and jokingly asked, I've helped your family so much. Don't you want to repay me? Repay? Sangwon's heart skipped a beat. She should repay him, but how would you like me to repay you, young master? Sangwon asked with a smile, but her heart was a little nervous. She didn't know what he would ask for. Shifengju raised his head and thought for a moment. He smiled and said, Actually, it's nothing much. Why don't you personally cook a few dishes for me? Of course. Sangwon relaxed and quickly said with a smile, I'll personally cook a few dishes for young master tomorrow night. Okay. Shifengju smiled and said, You don't have to cater to my taste. Just cook what you're best at. Sangwon thought for a moment and said with a smile, I don't seem to have any dishes that I'm best at. I'll just cook what young master likes. It's just that it's not as good as the chef's, so don't dislike it. The two chatted and laughed along the way. The carriage was light and fast, so it didn't take long for them to arrive at the Shi family. The carriage drove through the second gate. Shifengju got off the carriage first and naturally reached out to help Sangwon. Sangwon was surprised, but calmly put her hand over his and helped him get off the carriage. Let's go back and change first. Later, we'll go pay our respects to mother. As soon as Shifengju finished speaking, Sangwon smiled and nodded. Before she could say anything, Gu Fengzi elegantly walked over. She gracefully bent her knees and bowed. Her eyes were full of smiles as she said, Big cousin, big sister, you're back. The smile on Sangwon's face froze. Her high spirits seemed to be covered by a layer of shadow. She smiled and nodded at her. Why are you here, little sister? Gu Fengzi glanced at Shifengju affectionately, but she took the initiative to support Sangwon's arm. She smiled softly and said, I heard that big cousin and big sister were back, so I came to pick you up. Is big sister's family all right? You were gone for a few days, so Aunt missed you. We'll go pay our respects to mother later. If there's nothing else, you can go back first. Shifengju frowned. He didn't know why, but her voice and smile, which used to be so delicate and lovely, were now not pleasing to the eye. It was as if her face was covered with a layer of fake skin. Then I won't disturb big cousin and big sister. Gu Fengzi smiled softly and turned to leave. Shifengju and Sangwon were silent the whole way. What was there would always be there. Temporarily avoiding it didn't mean it had disappeared. Sangwon's mouth slowly became bitter. After returning to Ning Garden, the two freshened up and went to Wang's place. When Wang saw them come back, she couldn't help but smile and ask them questions. When she heard Shifengju and Sangwon talk about how lively it was, she was even happier. She couldn't help but smile and sigh. I don't know if our Fenghua will pass the next provincial examination. It would be great if he did. Mother, don't worry. Third brother is so smart, so he will definitely pass. Maybe he can also pass the JUN exam. Sure you may, said with a smile. It's good that he can pass, it's good that he can. When the time comes, our Shi family will also be lively. Of course. Sure you may, and the others laughed and joined in the fun. After sitting for a while, Shifengju said with a smile that he was going to walk around the business. Wang reminded him to be tired from the journey, come back early, and don't be tired, and let him go. However, she asked Sangwon to stay and talk for a while. Naturally, the topic of conversation revolved around Sang Yufei. As they talked, Shi Yumei coughed and asked with a seemingly casual smile, You must have spent a lot of money to entertain so many guests, right? Sangwon's face stiffened, but she simply nodded and said with a smile, yes, it was a lot. It was all the young master's decision. I don't know the details. Oh, how can you not know? He was working for your biological brother. Sure you may said acidly. Wang sighed and glared at Sure you may before smiling generously. Wan Yang is a married woman, so how can she interfere with her family's affairs? Besides, she is now the eldest daughter-in-law of our Sure family, so how can she be the one in charge outside? For this matter, Fengju should be the one in charge. Your younger brother has always been the most sensible and reliable. He, I'm sure he won't lose face. How much money can a banquet in the countryside cost? 1 or 2,000 is enough. That's still not a small amount. Sure you may pretended to be puzzled and said, don't you still have your eldest brother and sister-in-law in your family? They should be the ones in charge of this matter. How can they let Fengju steal the limelight? Aya, your brother and sister-in-law won't be angry with Fengju because of this, right? Sangwon felt embarrassed, but she could not embarrass her sister-in-law in front of her mother-in-law. She could only smile and say, this matter was decided by big brother and sister-in-law. Fengju has helped a lot, so big brother, sister-in-law, and second brother only have gratitude in their hearts. Second brother said that he would like to thank mother and young master when he comes over later. Your brother and sister-in-law are too polite. Wang smiled and said, it's only right for relatives to help each other. We're all family, so there's no need to be so polite. Jiayuan has given our Fenghua some pointers so that Fenghua can become a high scholar in the future. This old woman is already very grateful. Mother, what are you saying? Sangwon smiled and said, since we're all family, mother, you're treating us like outsiders. Ah. Yes, let's not talk about this anymore. Wang smiled and instructed Sangwon not to forget to clean up the guest room. She then asked when Sang Yufei would be leaving for the capital. Would there be anyone to escort him? And so on. Sangwon answered her question one by one. Sure you may was unhappy to see Sangwon changing the topic with just a few words. Hearing them call themselves family, it made her sound like an outsider. She felt even more awkward and raised her voice to change the topic. She smiled and said, to be fair, your brother and sister-in-law should really thank Fengju for his help. Otherwise, how could the banquet be so easy to arrange? I wonder what kind of dishes you've prepared? What kind of wine were they using? Where did they hire the chef? It's a pity that your village is too far away from our Qingzhou. It's too remote. Otherwise, we could have sent the chef from Yuhe restaurant over and make all kinds of delicacies. Wouldn't that be more honorable? That's not right. The villagers are honest and love to eat big fish and meat. Who knows, when they see sea cucumbers and abalones, they might think that they're worthless and say that your Sang family is stingy. You set up a banquet and don't give us anything good to eat. Forget it. Chapter 123. Big Sister is right. Sangwon's heart was filled with anger and bitterness. She unconsciously clenched her fists tightly to stop her body from trembling. With a gentle smile, she said, our Sai village is far away, and the villagers are not particular about food. We are content as long as we have chicken, duck, and fish. In the future, if Big Brother-in-law passes, Big Sister can consider inviting the chef of Jade Lotus Restaurant to Mengxian to hold a banquet. Young Master will definitely be happy to help. Moreover, Big Brother-in-law's friends and relatives are all elegant people who have seen the world. They will definitely praise the sea cucumbers and abalones. Sure Yumei's expression changed. She coldly said, what do you mean? Are you looking down on us? Sure Yumei and Ran Jixien had been listening to everyone in the household talking about the Sang family. Even the second Lord Sure had told them with a smile that official Jean, who was competing with him to buy the golden silk phoenix-tailed bird, gave way to him when he heard that his eldest daughter-in-law's biological brother was this year's Juan. Sure Yumei and Ran Jixien felt uncomfortable as if there were thorns in their hearts. With Gu Fengzi fanning the flames in her ears from time to time, Sure Yumei's heart was like a volcano. The more she looked at Sangwon, the more she felt that Sangwon's face was full of arrogance and smugness. The fire in her heart could not help but grow bigger and bigger. She wanted to humiliate Sang-won, but who would have thought that Sang-won would retaliate without batting an eyelid? How could she still maintain her face? Big sister. Sang-won's expression changed and she quickly stood up. Her hands were loosely folded in front of her and she stood with her head lowered. She timidly glanced at Wong. "Yume, what are you doing?" When Sang-won said those words, her tone was gentle and sincere. Her expression was gentle and tranquil, but to Wang Shi, who had nothing to do with her, those words did not have any other meaning. Only Shi Yume could feel the pain. Wang saw her daughter flip out and couldn't help but frown and glare at her. She scolded, "How can you talk to your sister-in-law like that?" What Wan Nyong said was right. "If my son-in-law wins, I'll definitely ask Fengju to go to Mengxian and hold a big banquet to give you face." "Wan Nyong, sit down, sit down. Your elder sister is just like that. Don't argue with her." "Ah." Wan Nyong wouldn't be so calculative with big sister. Sang-won bowed slightly to express her gratitude and sat back down. Shi Yume was flustered and exasperated. "Mother, am I still your daughter? How could you talk about me like that in front of outsiders? You're so biased." "Shut up. I think you're getting more and more out of hand." Wang's face also darkened. "You were biased to begin with, for getting your daughter after marrying a daughter-in-law. You." Nanny Jiang gave Sang-won a signal with her eyes. Sang-won stood up and smiled. "Mother, I still have some matters to attend to in Ning Garden, so I'll take my leave first. I'll come and pay my respects to Mother tomorrow." "Go, go." Wang was arguing with her daughter and couldn't wait for Sang-won to leave. Sang-won excused herself and left hurriedly. After she left, she could hear Shi Yume's resentful voice behind her. "Isn't it just because my brother won Jiuan? She should be riding on top of my head. That kind of family, even if they were the top scorer, they would still be poor. They even need our family to pay for a banquet in the countryside. What the hell is that? You and Fengju can still rely on them in the future." Sang-won bit her lips and held back the tears that were welling up in her eyes. She quickly blinked away the tears and took a few deep breaths. "All of you can leave. I want to be alone for a while." Back in Ning Garden, Sang-won chased everyone out and went into a daze alone in the warm room. Even Luya was not left behind. She could no longer hold back her tears of humiliation. She was the Shi family's young mistress, who entered the Shi family in a dignified manner. But now, she had to endure the anger of her sister-in-law, who had returned to her maternal family to seek refuge. She was humiliated in such a way that she had no way to complain. She couldn't wait to return the money to Shi Fengju so that the Sang family would no longer take advantage of the Shi family. But she couldn't do it. Where did she get the money? Sang-won's tears flowed for a while before she slowly calmed down. She wiped the corners of her eyes and let out a long sigh. Fortunately, big brother, sister-in-law, and second brother didn't know about this. Otherwise, they would feel terrible. It was enough for her to bear this alone. When Shi Fengju returned, Sang-won was still in a daze in the warm room. Shi Fengju was puzzled when he saw the strange color of the servants in the room. Luya whispered the reason and Shi Fengju knew what was going on. He sighed softly and walked in. "Wan Nyang." Sang-won raised her head and saw him. She quickly stood up and forced a smile. "You're back." "Wan Nyang," Shi Fengju held her hand and said softly, "Don't take my big sister's words to heart. You know that I don't think that way." It would have been better if he didn't mention it. The moment he did, Sang-won's nose turned sour again. She gently withdrew her hand and lowered her head. "Actually, she's right. Our family shouldn't have spent your family's money." "You're saying the opposite." Shi Fengju held her shoulder and laughed. "What do you mean by our family? You're now our Shi family's daughter-in-law. Even when you're out as a guest, others have to address you as young Mistress Shi. All right, don't think about it anymore, En." Sang-won did not say anything. "Just treat it as if she's spouting nonsense and ignore it." Shi Fengju said softly, "For my sake, En?" For your sake, should I accept these words? Sang-won pursed her lips. Since I'm the Shi family's young mistress, what right does she have to say these things to me? Shi Fengju felt a headache coming on and said in distress, I don't know what's wrong with big sister. She wasn't like this in the past. I'll have a good talk with her later. Wan Yang, don't be angry, alright? Won't your body feel uncomfortable if you get angry? Sang-won said, You don't know what's wrong with her, but I do. If not for Gu Fengzi's instigation, she wouldn't be so mean. But I can't tell you this. Even if I did, would you believe me? Better not. Sang-won said faintly, If you look for her, she won't do anything to you. She'll probably blame me for complaining to you. I'm afraid she'll hate me even more in the future. Don't worry. Shi Fengju smiled. I promise she won't link it to you. Trust me just this once, en? Shi Fengju couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Wan Yang coaxed her repeatedly. Sang-won saw that it wasn't convenient for her to do anything, so she could only sigh and accept it half-heartedly. But in her heart, she sighed. So what if you talk to her? As long as Gu Fengzi is around, this kind of thing won't stop. But I can't say anything bad about Gu Fengzi, can I? Are you hungry? Let's get someone to set the table. Sang-won sighed. Wash your face first. Look at you, your eyes are swollen. Shi Fengju's fingers gently brushed past her eyes. The slightly cold touch made Sang-won subconsciously want to avoid it, but before she could do anything, his hand had already left her eyes. Then sit down and rest for a while. Sang-won smiled. The servant outside suddenly reported that Peony Park's Lan Xiang wanted to see him. Shi Fengju subconsciously thought that Gu Fengzi had asked her to invite him over again. He frowned and said, Ask her what's the matter and tell her to go back. Just tell her that we're about to set the table and that it's nothing urgent. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Hong Yi answered and went to ask. After a while, she came back with 2 books in her hands and replied, Lan Xiang said that these are the account books that Miss Gu wanted to give to young mistress. These are the accounts that young mistress hasn't been home for the past few days. Young mistress, please check them. Shi Fengju was stunned and felt slightly apologetic. He nodded and said, Keep them. Don't forget to tell young mistress later. Hong Yi bowed and took the books back to the small study room. After Sang-won washed her face, the servant girls served the food and the 2 of them sat down to eat. Shi Fengju smiled at Sang-won and said, We left in a hurry this time and didn't have time to give second brother a congratulatory gift. What do you think is appropriate? You still need to give a gift? If your eldest sister knows, she'll open her eyes wide and eat me up. Sang-won shook her head and said, Brother and sister-in-law are already very grateful for such a big help this time. I don't think there's a need for that. How can that be? Shi Fengju smiled and said, We've already given gifts to those unrelated squires. If we don't give gifts to our proper in-laws, people will gossip. I've already asked someone to prepare the list. I'll bring it over for you to take a look later. Sang-won rolled her eyes at him. Why are you still asking me when you've already prepared it? She smiled and nodded in agreement. Sang-won thought that he would show the list to her in private. Unexpectedly, the next morning, Shi Fengju accompanied her to pay respects to Wang. Then, he presented the list to Wang in front of everyone and said with a smile, Mother, this is the list of gifts I've prepared for Granduncle Sang. Do you think it's suitable? As soon as Shi Fengju said this, Shi Yumei, Gu Fengzi, and Shi Lian all paid attention. Wang nodded with a smile and said, I was just about to ask you about this. What a coincidence that you've asked first. My son is always so proper. As she said this, she ordered Xiu Chun to read the list. Xiu Chun received the list and read it from the beginning. Other than gold and silver, there were also porcelain and jade furnaces, calligraphy and paintings, screens, beautiful silk, tea sets, spices, tea leaves, and so on. There were almost 200 to 300 different items. The more Shi Yumei listened, the uglier her face became. Gu Fengzi's face was indifferent, but only she knew what she was thinking. Sang-won was also a little uneasy. She did not know what Shi Fengju was up to. I say, Fengju, why don't you just move all of our family's assets to the Sang family? Shi Yumei finally could not help but interrupt Xiu Chun. Isn't it enough to provide money and manpower to help them organize the banquet? Why do you still have to spend so much money? Fengju, our family's money doesn't just fall from the sky. I'm puzzled. You've always done things with a sense of propriety, so why are you so unreliable this time? Did someone blow some pillow talk to you? Fengju, it's not that I want to scold you, but pillow talk is poisonous. You can't do that. Big sister, Sangwon stood up and said, Fengju did tell me about the gifts, but the list was prepared by him. I only knew about it now. So what? If not for you, my brother wouldn't have done something so unreliable. Shi Yumei sneered and said, Sister-in-law, don't forget that you're now our Shi family's daughter-in-law, not the Sang family's daughter. Don't always side with your maternal family. If you have the ability to side with your maternal family, then so be it. But if you don't, then don't take advantage of our Shi family's benefits to supplement your maternal family. Sangwon said, According to what you said, you're now a member of the Ren family, yet you keep saying that you're from the Shi family. What right do you have to speak here? Chapter 124. Although Sangwon was angry, she knew that she could not say such words out loud. If she did, it would be equivalent to embarrassing her mother-in-law and Shi Fengju. Gu Fengzi was secretly delighted to see Sangwon and Shi Yumei contradicting each other. She could not wait for them to quarrel. Seeing that Sangwon had no intention of continuing after rebuking her, her eyes revealed a hint of disappointment. Big sister, what nonsense are you talking about? Shi Fengju smiled and said, Second young Master Sang has been diagnosed with the GUN, and the neighboring villages have all sent him generous gifts. Since our families are in-laws, how can we be stingy? As he spoke, he casually mentioned the number of acres of fertile land, the size of the house, and the amount of gold and silver. He continued, Besides, you've really wronged Wan Nyong. This matter was discussed by me and the housekeeper. It has nothing to do with Wan Nyong. You may sit down obediently and don't say anything else. Wang frowned and glared at her. She quickly nodded at Shi Fengju and said, Fengju did not do anything wrong. Our Shi family is known as the richest family in Qingzhou. If the gifts are stingy, what will others say? Besides, Wan Nyong is the eldest daughter-in-law of our family, so we can't be stingy. Fengju, you and the housekeeper should think it over. Wan Nyong, take a look and see if it's appropriate. Wang said and ordered Xiu Chun to show the list to Sangwon. Shi Yumei was speechless for a moment. That's right, Sangwon was the eldest daughter-in-law of the Shi family. Her family was in-laws with the Shi family. Even if the gifts were generous, what did it have to do with her? What right did she have to comment? Thinking that even though she had the surname Shi, she was already a member of the Ren family. She could not help but feel sad. Young master's idea can't be wrong. Wan Nyong wouldn't know about this. Sangwon smiled and got up to take the list. After a quick glance, she put it down. Mother, since that's the case, I'll send someone to do it. Shi Fengju took the list back with a smile and smiled at Shi Yumei. Big sister, when brother-in-law wins the next competition, I'll definitely prepare an identical gift to congratulate him. I definitely won't let big sister lose face. Hearing this, Shi Yumei felt a little better. She snorted and said, Why is it the same? Can't you bear to prepare a bigger one? Shi Fengju laughed out loud and said, Big sister, I can't favor one over another, or else Sangwon will complain that I'm being unfair. You! Shi Yumei was so angry that she stomped her feet. She said with a faint smile, What? Are you that afraid of your wife? You're afraid of her complaining, but you're not afraid of me complaining? Shi Fengju shook his head with a smile and did not answer her question. Instead, he smiled at Wang and said, Mother, look at big sister. She's getting older and older, saying such childish things. I think mother dotes on her too much. You should teach her some manners. Without waiting for Wang and Shi Yumei to reply, he took the list and ran away. You brat, are you my younger brother or my older brother? Shi Yumei stomped her feet angrily and turned to Wang. Mother, look at what Fengju said. Wang was already amused by her son's words. She patted Shi Yumei's hand and said, all right. I think Fengju is right. You should really reflect on yourself and learn some manners. You just have to take care of your husband's daily life and accompany me when you're free. You don't have to worry about anything else. I'm not muddle-headed, and neither is Fengju. Shi Yumei's heart sank and she whispered, I understand, mother. So what if she was unwilling? She was now a member of the Ren family. Even if Sang Wan moved the entire Shi family's assets to the Sang family, as long as Fengju was willing, her mother wouldn't be able to do anything about it, let alone her. But why did her heart feel so uncomfortable? Sang Wan was secretly grateful. Yesterday, Shi Yumei had mocked the Sang family for spending so much money, but today, Shi Fengju openly took out such a valuable gift list. Even if Shi Yumei wanted to say something behind her back, she couldn't. You know. It's good that you know. Wang's face darkened and she said with disgust, is that Cuebao girl still behaving? Shi Yumei was startled and smiled faintly. Her? Nothing's wrong with him. He pays his respects to me every day. He's well behaved and doesn't cause any trouble. Usually, she serves me in the study room, but occasionally, she'll accompany me to relieve my boredom. You're so soft-hearted and gullible. Just because someone says something nice, you take it seriously. Wang snorted. Why did I see her walking around the garden the other day? Wasn't she wearing the Xiang Yun satin that I gave you a while ago? Mother. Shi Yumei didn't take it seriously and smiled. Isn't it just a piece of cloth? I've made quite a number of clothes this time, and there's no point in keeping that cloth, so I gave it to her. Anyway, there'll be more cloth next year. You. Really? Wang sighed, but she couldn't do anything about her daughter. Sang Wan saw that her mother-in-law was talking to her daughter about something that wasn't suitable for outsiders to know, so she quickly got up with a smile and excused herself. Shi Lian also took the opportunity to leave, and the two left together. When Shi Yumei saw that they had left, she was afraid that her mother would drag her down and give her a long-lasting lecture, so she also hurriedly excused herself. She gave a look to Gu Fengzi and pulled her away. Mother, I'll send cousin back. I'll come talk with you in the afternoon. This child sigh. Wang couldn't stop her in time and sighed blindly. She said to Nanny Jiang, why is she so muddle-headed? She doesn't have any prejudice at all. That Cuebao doesn't look like a well-behaved person, but she still coaxed her. If Wang could criticize Shi Yumei, how could Nanny Jiang dare to agree? She smiled and said, Old mistress, perhaps you're overthinking. Banana Courtyard is in our household and has always been well-behaved and dutiful. There hasn't been any unpleasant rumors. Don't worry, there won't be anyone who dares to bully our eldest missy. They don't dare now. Wang sneered. I'm not the one saying this. Just wait and see. If she dares to stir up trouble in our household, I'll sell her off tomorrow. It's hard to say what will happen in the future. Fragrant cloud satin is such an expensive material. Is it something a Tongfang like her can wear? If she's really well behaved, she should have rejected it. She actually dared to wear it out of Banana Courtyard. Our eldest missy is the official wife. Even if there are foxes, they can't surpass her. Besides, who would have the guts to go against our Shi family? Old mistress, you're overthinking. Nanny Jiang hurriedly comforted her with a smile. Wang felt a little better and nodded with a smile. That makes sense. As long as our Shi family is around, no one can touch our family's young lady. When Sang Wan returned to Ning Garden, head servant Yu from the outer courtyard sent a messenger to inform her that he would be heading to young mistress's house in Sai village in Yonglu town in 2 days. He wanted to know if young mistress had anything to bring back. Sang Wan smiled. I just came back from home. I don't have anything to bring back. I'll leave everything to young master. The messenger left without a word. Thinking about how she had promised Shi Fengju to cook for her in the evening, Sang Wan discussed with Mama Li and ordered the servants to prepare the ingredients for the afternoon meal. Mama Li was naturally happy to see Sang Wan preparing a soup for Shi Fengju. She smiled and said, "Young mistress, it's good that you have such intentions. That kitchen is a mess. It's not a place you should be. It'll be bad if the grease gets on your hands or face. Nanny, young master has done so much for our family. I should at least show my gratitude. Don't worry, it'll be fine." Sang Wan insisted with a smile. Then you have to be careful. Mama Li said with a smile, "Young mistress, you're really virtuous. Young master is really lucky to have married you. Nanny, please don't praise me anymore." Sang Wan's smile was a little stiff. In the afternoon, when it was about time, Sang Wan changed her clothes and went to the kitchen. Under the kitchen maid's guidance, she made 6 dishes and a soup for Shi Fengju. She steamed a bowl of rouge goose, stir-fried sliced chicken with hibiscus, fried mandarin fish with winter bamboo shoots, pan-fried pork ribs, and 2 plates of vegetable tofu with tomato sauce, sesame oil, and a big bowl of piping hot longan, ham, and duck soup. At noon, the soup was stewed and simmered for the whole afternoon. When it was time for dinner, the duck meat was stewed to a pulp and the soup was fragrant. When the steaming soup was served on the table, the rich aroma went straight into everyone's nose. Paired with the amber-colored ribs that were drizzled with sugar sauce, the snow-white petal-like chicken slices, and the rouge goose, it looked, smelled, and tasted good. "Did you make all of this yourself?" Shi Fengju came back and saw it. He couldn't believe it. "Of course," Sang Wan said with a smile. "Other than washing and cutting the vegetables, I did everything by myself. If you don't believe me, you can ask Mama Li. Young master, young mistress really made all of this especially for you. She didn't even let us help." Mama Li said with a smile. "Try it. It's the same as what you usually eat, but it's different." Sang Wan smiled and pulled him to sit down. "Since you made it especially for me, it must be better than what I usually eat." Shi Fengju sat down with a smile and said regretfully, "What a pity, it would be better if there was a pot of good wine." "Young master, here's the wine," Mama Li said as she took the wine pot from a maidservant and said with a smile, "Young mistress let me warm a pot of spring jade pear, but young master, you should drink less. It's not good for your body to drink too much." Mama Li put down the wine pot with a smile and gave a look to the maidservants to leave, leaving some space for the couple. When Shi Fengju saw the wine, he felt a little regretful. What a pity. If only there wasn't any wine, he could still rely on Sang Wan to make it for him again. However, it was hard for her to think of everything for him. Sang Wan scooped half a bowl of duck soup for him. "Drink some soup first to warm your stomach. This soup has been simmering for the whole afternoon and is suitable for nourishing in autumn and winter." Shi Fengju took the bowl and drank 2 mouthfuls. He praised with a smile and said, "Don't just busy yourself for me, you should eat too." Sang Wan smiled and poured him some wine. Then she sat down. "The wine is just right, young master, try it." Shi Fengju smiled and picked up the wine cup. Just as he was about to drink, he suddenly paused and said with a smile, "It's boring to drink alone. Wan Yang, you should drink some too." Sang Wan's expression froze when she heard this. She forced a smile and said, I don't drink wine." She had never drunk wine before. The wine on the wedding night should have been the first cup of wine she drank in this life, but she didn't drink it. Chapter 125. This wine is mellow and sweet. It won't make you drunk, nor will it make you feel uncomfortable. Besides, it's okay to get drunk in your own home. Just treat it as accompanying me, okay? Shi Fengju couldn't help but laugh as he filled the empty wine cup and handed it to her. He jokingly said, "Look, the wet nurse even prepared a wine cup for you. How could you let her good intentions down?" "Then, I'll only drink this cup." Sang Wan smiled as she took the wine cup. She smiled at him and said, "Eldest young master, thank you for helping me out today. Also, thank you for helping my family these past few days." She was still so distant and polite to him. Shi Fengju secretly sighed. However, she finally saw the good in him, didn't she? Moreover, last night when he had the courage to carry the quilt to bed, she had tacitly approved of his behavior and didn't drive him out. It was clear that she had some feelings for him. Shi Fengju's spirits rose as he smiled and raised his cup. Wan Yang, I should protect you. Sang Wan faintly smiled and drank the wine in the cup. It was mellow in her mouth and slightly spicy in her throat. She couldn't help but knit her brows. When she looked down, she saw a bowl of hot duck soup in front of her. Shi Fengju chuckled and said, "It seems that you really don't know how to drink." Sang Wan drank a few mouthfuls of the soup to disperse the spicy taste in her mouth. She smiled and said, "That's right. Eldest young master can't make things difficult for me anymore. You should also drink less." Shi Fengju had gotten drunk twice, and both times he didn't do anything good. However, she couldn't blame him. She didn't want it to happen again. Moreover, this time she had prepared the wine for him. She felt wronged. "Okay. If you say you don't want to drink, then I won't drink." Shi Fengju smiled and picked up a piece of fish for her. "Eat it while it's hot." And Sang Wan saw that he was so calm as if he didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. She couldn't say anything and could only agree vaguely. She lowered her head and ate. Shi Fengju gazed at her tenderly and couldn't help but smile. When would his little wife understand his intentions? Who asked him to care too much and be too afraid of being rejected? Oh, that's right. Actually, it's enough to send Chong Huan and the others to deliver the congratulatory gift to my brother. Why send Steward Yu? Sang Wan suddenly said with a smile. Housekeeper Yu was the second housekeeper in the Shi family, second only to the Jin housekeeper. He was in charge of the family's finances and had a lot of work to do every day. "It'll be more convenient for Steward Yu to go," Shi Fengju said with a smile. "Don't get angry if I tell you." Among the gifts that those squires and officials gave, there were a lot of antiques, calligraphy, paintings, and other toys. If your two older brothers want to return the gifts, they must first know the value of these things. Steward Yu is an expert in this area, so he can help them sort it out. Sang Wan felt warmth in her heart. She couldn't help but say, "No wonder you prepared everything on the gift list today. This is a gift you specially prepared for my brother?" Shi Fengju laughed happily. "My wife is really smart. Oh, you won't blame me for being meddlesome, right?" Sang Wan didn't know what to say. This person, how could he be so good to her? How could I blame you? You're so thoughtful. I think my brother and sister-in-law will also be grateful to you." Shi Fengju felt very comfortable when he heard this. He felt that his painstaking efforts weren't in vain, so he asked with a thick-skinned smile, He, then how does Wan Yong plan to repay me?" Sang Wan froze for a moment, then giggled, "Eldest young master is really a businessman. I'll take that as a compliment." Shi Fengju also laughed. "If eldest young master doesn't mind, I'll cook for you from time to time. How about it?" Shi Fengju was overjoyed at first, but just as he said, "Okay," he shook his head. "I don't think so. You shouldn't stay in a place like the kitchen. What if you get splashed with oil or get hurt? How about this? I see that you're usually free and you're good at accounting. You can help me out a little. Are you willing?" Help him out a little? Did he want her to help him with accounting? His business's accounting? Wasn't this, although Sang Wan was hesitant and doubtful, and she knew that she shouldn't agree to it, her heart was thinking one thing while her mouth was saying something else. She couldn't help but nod and smile. "Young master, if you have any instructions, please feel free to tell me." "Then I'll take that as a yes." Shi Fengju's eyes lit up, and he smiled as if he had eaten a ginseng fruit. Shi Fengju couldn't help but feel happy when he thought about how the two of them would spend more time together in the future. "Okay. I agree." Sang Wan smiled sweetly. In the blink of an eye, it was the middle of October. At noon, Sang Yufei finally brought Shi Ming to the Shi family. They were warmly received by everyone in the household. As expected, Shi Fenghua had asked for leave from the academy to return home. When the hierarch heard that this year's Jiuan was a guest at his residence, Not only did he happily give him leave, he also earnestly urged him to learn from Jiuan. This would only be beneficial to him. When his classmates in the academy heard about this, they were all envious. They all asked him to invite Jiuan over so that they could learn from each other. Shi Fenghua couldn't refuse and could only agree. His classmates were overjoyed and forced him to set a date, making Shi Fenghua feel helpless. Everything was fine in the Shi family. Shi Fenghua and Sang Yufei also had a good chat. There was only one discordant voice, and that was Ran Jixian. When Sang Yufei arrived with Shi Ming, Ran Jixian immediately recognized the servant who used to serve him. He exclaimed in surprise, "Hey, isn't this Shi Ming? When did you start following Brother Sang?" "Old Master Ren." Shi Ming greeted Sang Yufei with a complacent look on his face. He was full of confidence as he followed beside Sang Yufei. He felt as if he had just vented his anger. "Didn't you dislike me?" "Jiuan doesn't dislike me. It's obvious that your taste isn't that good. Second brother just happened to lack someone by his side. I thought Shi Ming was more suitable, so I gave him to second brother. He's now second brother's page boy." Shi Fengju smiled faintly. "Shi Ming is very good at handling matters. I haven't thanked brother-in-law properly yet." Sang Yufei smiled and cupped his hands. "Second brother, you're too polite." Shi Fengju smiled. Ran Jixian was very disdainful and smiled proudly. "Kiki, Brother Sang is still the best at teaching people. A few days ago, this brat served me clumsily and couldn't do anything well, so I returned him to Fengju. I didn't expect Fengju to give him to you, and the two of you actually get along well. Kiki, speaking of which, this master-servant relationship is quite fated." Shi Yumei was secretly happy to hear that. She deliberately gave her husband a displeased look and scolded, How can you say such things in front of second young Master Sang? It's as if you're giving him something you don't want. He's the top scorer, you're making him lose face." Old Mistress Ran must be joking. "Perhaps everyone is different, but I really think that Shi Ming is not bad. I believe in brother-in-law's taste." Sang Yufei smiled and nodded at Shi Fengju. What he meant was that Ran Jixian's taste was not very trustworthy. Although Sang Yufei was secretly puzzled as to why the couple wanted to make things difficult for him, he was not a foolish person. He knew very well how Shi Fengju treated him. Shi Fengju was also secretly angry. When he met Sang Yufei's gaze, he knew that he did not think too much and was secretly relieved. He smiled and said, "It's all my fault. If brother-in-law had told me earlier that you wanted a beautiful woman to accompany you, I wouldn't have let Shi Ming go. It's all my fault. All right, second brother must be tired from the long journey. Let's go back to the guest room and rest." Wang smiled and agreed. She also said that Shi Fenghua would be back in the evening and that they would come over for dinner together. Sang Yufei agreed and got up to leave. Shi Fengju and Sang Wan sent him to the guest room. "Second brother, don't worry and stay here. Don't be estranged. If you need anything, just tell me or your sister. It's the same. If it's inconvenient, just let Shi Ming tell us." Shi Fengju smiled. If there was something, he would not say it too clearly. "Brother-in-law, don't worry. I understand." Sang Yufei understood and smiled. After sending Sang Yufei to the guest room, Shi Fengju and Sang Wan returned to Ning Garden. "Wan Nyang, brother-in-law is just like that. When you go back, tell second brother in private and ask him not to take offense. Wan Nyang, you won't be angry with me, right?" "Don't worry." Sang Wan smiled and said, "Every family has its own difficulties. Our Sang family situation is not much better than yours. How could second brother be so foolish?" "That's true." Shi Fengju slapped his forehead and laughed. "I forgot about that." The two looked at each other and smiled. When Shi Fenghua came back in the evening, there was another lively scene. Ever since then, Shi Fenghua and Sang Yufei spent most of their time either in Shi Fenghua's study room or in one of the pavilions in the garden. Sometimes, they would exchange pointers, discuss difficult questions, study the questions of each year, chat about anecdotes, or occasionally paint and write poems for each other. The two of them got along very well and regretted not having met each other earlier. However, Ran Jixian was not tactful and followed them around every day. He clearly did not know anything, but thought that he knew everything. He spoke frankly and confidently, and as long as he was allowed to continue, he would not stop. After he finished speaking with great difficulty, there was an awkward silence. This was because Shi Fenghua and Sang Yufei did not know how to respond to him. At first, Ran Jixian did not feel that there was anything wrong with him. Instead, he was very proud of himself. He felt that the two of them were shocked speechless by his knowledge. But gradually, he began to feel a sense of discomfort. This was because the two of them had never praised him. They had never looked at him with admiration as he had hoped. At first, this made him very confused. When he realized that the two of them were intentionally or unintentionally ignoring him, Ran Jixian could no longer sit still. His self-esteem had been severely hurt. That day, he deliberately did not look for them in a fit of pique. Instead, he asked Suibao to tell them that he had caught a cold and could not go out. He originally thought that the two of them would come to visit him in person. Then, he would use words to make them realize that they should not have ignored him. Who knew that Suibao would only bring back one sentence? Third young master and second uncle said that since it is so, master, please rest well. This made Ran Jixian very angry. In his heart, he scolded the two of them for not knowing what was good for them and not knowing how to respect their elders. Chapter 126. Finally, Shi Fenghua brought Sang Yufei out to the academy for a gathering without informing him. Ran Jixian flew into a rage and vented his anger at Shi Yumei. Shi Yumei was also angry and said hatefully, "Outrageous. The Sang siblings had gone too far. Do they really think that the Shi family is their own home? Instigating one wasn't enough, and now they're instigating the other. Preposterous. Let's see if I don't teach her a lesson. She really thinks she's all that." Shi Yumei did not bother to eat lunch and rushed straight to Ning Garden with Cui Zhu with a cold face. Sang Wan had just finished her lunch and was drinking tea in the warm room. When she heard that the eldest Missy had arrived, she quickly got up to welcome her. Before she could leave the room, Shi Yumei had already rushed in angrily and pointed at Sang Wan with a sneer. "What a Shi family's young mistress. Impressive, impressive. You even despise the two of us. The Sang family sure has a lot of face, daring to be so arrogant in the Shi family's territory. You've gone too far. Are you going to chase us away later on? So what if you've got Jun? What does that have to do with our Shi family? Our Shi family doesn't need to use that to put up a front. What a joke. Big sister, what are you saying?" Sang Wan was inexplicably scolded and was embarrassed. After a moment of astonishment, her face could not help but carry a hint of anger. "Big sister, if you have something to say, then let's talk it out. What did I do to make you unhappy? I don't like you at all." Shi Yumei pointed at her and said, "Why don't you take a look at yourself in the mirror? Is our Shi family something that a poor family like you can climb up to? You vixen, I don't know what kind of tricks you used to bewitch our Fengju. That second brother of yours is even worse. He brings my third brother around every day and doesn't even allow him to get close to his brother-in-law. Pei. Seeing that my third brother is honest, pure, and gullible, you're afraid that my master will see through you. You and your sister are both trash." Mama Li, Xing Ji, and the other maidservants hurriedly came up to pull and persuade Shi Yumei. Luya supported Sang Wan without saying a word. Sang Wan was stunned. Only now did she realize that Shi Yumei's hatred for her was so deep and vicious. It was not the usual jealousy between sisters-in-law. "Big sister, you have to have evidence before you speak. Although our Sang family is not as wealthy as the Shi family, we are still a good family with a clean record. We siblings have been taught by our parents and elder brothers since we were young, and we know everything that we should know. Big sister, don't be so sarcastic. Are you talking about me or my second brother? If you say that I shouldn't have married into the Shi family and was an eyesore to you, please don't tell me about this matter." I wasn't the one who set up the engagement, nor was I the one who sent the 3 matchmakers and 6 betrothal gifts. If you're talking about my second brother, I don't understand what my second brother did to make you so angry. Him being together with my third brother doesn't seem to be an eyesore to you. You're rebelling. How dare you talk back to me? Sang-won, how dare you quibble? Shi Yumei was so angry that she threw herself at Sang-won, wanting to settle the score with her. Mama Li, Xing Ji, and the others panicked and desperately held her back. Eldest Missy, please calm down, let's talk things over slowly. Let go of me. Shi Yumei struggled anxiously and angrily and shouted, Sang-won, you're really capable. How dare you let the servants bully me? Good. If you have the ability, tell them not to let go of me. I'd like to see what my mother will do if she finds out. Sang-won was so angry that she could barely speak. Big sister, I still don't understand what you're talking about. What's with all this talk about? It's none of my business if you don't like me, but what are you trying to do by coming here and making a scene? My second brother was only invited by my mother and Fengju as a guest. I don't understand how he's gotten in your way. Shi Yumei stared at her coldly and struggled to break free from Mama Li and the others. She sneered, You don't know? Kiki, you're really good at pretending to be innocent. I'd like to ask you, what did my husband do to you? What right does that brat have to seduce Fenghua and ignore his own brother-in-law? What? In this world, only your Sang family is worthy of being educated, and no one else is worthy. Jiyuan is so arrogant that his tail is about to reach the heavens. He can't wait to step on everyone in the world. The more Shi Yumei spoke, the angrier she became. New and old grudges surged in her heart. I just can't stand seeing you like this. You're so petty and scheming, why are you pretending to be innocent? If I don't teach you a lesson today, you'll really think that everyone in the Shi family is a fool. Shi Yumei raised her hand and slapped Sang-won's face. Mama Li and the others screamed. Sang-won screamed and hurriedly dodged. Luya screamed, Young mistress, and subconsciously went forward to block the slap. Pa! A crisp sound was heard and Luya's face was hit. Young mistress! Luya! Everyone exclaimed and rushed forward to pull Shi Yumei back. Shi Yumei sneered, What a loyal servant! Sang-won, you're really something. Not only did you charm a man, you even won't let a servant off. As she spoke, her hands did not stop moving. She pushed Luya to the side and raised her hand to slap Sang-won. If she didn't scratch that vixen's face today, she, Shi Yumei, would not be surnamed Shi. Big sister. What are you doing? Shi Fengju rushed over when he heard the news and saw this scene. He quickly went forward and grabbed Shi Yumei's arm coldly. Big sister, can't we talk things out? Do you have to be so violent? What's there to talk about? You don't even ask what this woman did, but blame me. Fengju, if you still see me as your sister, then teach this woman a lesson for me today. Shi Yumei retracted her hand angrily. Young master, give me the divorce papers. Give me the divorce papers. Sang-won could no longer hold back her tears. She knew that whether it was her previous life or this one, her life in this household was destined to be a tragedy. One Gu Fengzi was enough to make her cautious at all times. Now that there was another Shi Yumei whom she could not touch, there was no way she could continue living like this. At least you still have some self-awareness. Shi Yumei sneered, Divorce papers? Dream on. Fengju, give her the divorce papers. Divorce this unvirtuous woman. Isn't the person you want to marry Fengzi? Divorce her and you can marry Fengzi. Live happily and peacefully, it'll be much better than now. Big sister. Shi Fengju shouted. His face was gloomy and terrifying. He stared coldly at Shi Yumei. What nonsense are you talking about? Wan Yang is my wife. I will not divorce Wan Yang. Sang-won's heart skipped a beat. She bit her lip and tears began to fall. You dare to shout at me? Shi Yumei looked at Shi Fengju with disbelief. You have never spoken to me with such an attitude since we were young. Today, because of this woman, you actually shouted at me. Good, hee, it seems that I was wrong. You are family, I am just an outsider. I deserve to be bullied. How would I dare to come here and ask for justice? I should hide in my room and cry quietly. I should flatter others and give me a bowl of rice to eat. Shi Yumei covered her face and rushed out of the room crying. Shi Fengju anxiously ordered, "Quickly stop her." The maidservants seemed to have woken up from a dream. They shouted, "Eldest Missy," and rushed out, but it was too late. Shi Fengju secretly frowned. This sister of his was becoming more and more outrageous. She must have complained to mother. "Wan Yang," Shi Fengju held her shoulders and said softly, "Don't cry. I'm sorry, I made you suffer again. Don't cry, don't cry." Sang Wan pushed him away forcefully and wiped her tears. "Young master, whether it's a peaceful divorce or a divorce papers, it's all up to you. What can a little woman like me do? I can't stay in this household anymore." "No." Shi Fengju felt a sudden pain in his heart. He simply pulled Sang Wan into his arms and hugged her tightly. "Whether it's a peaceful divorce or a divorce papers, I won't give them to you. Wan Yang, you're not allowed to say this again." Unable to struggle, Sang Wan was angry and anxious at the same time. She raised her hand and pinched his waist. Shi Fengju was in so much pain that he gritted his teeth and groaned. However, he hugged her even tighter and wished that he could embed her into his body. He endured the pain and said, "Sang Wan, if you're angry, you can hit me or scold me, but I won't let you leave." Sang Wan's hand fell down weakly. She sobbed, "Are you happy to see me being bullied? One is your sister, the other is your cousin. What do you want to do to me?" "Wan Yang." Shi Fengju sighed, "Tell me what happened." "Wan Yang, I'll get justice for you." "How many times can you get justice for me?" Sang Wan sneered, "Don't say you're guarding me every day. If you're guarding me every day, I'll be a fierce and jealous woman. You ask me what happened? You'd better ask your sister. I don't know what kind of gossip she heard and came here to vent her anger." "Wan Yang, Wan Yang." Shi Fengju gently patted her back and comforted her. "Wan Yang, you also said that my sister heard some gossip and came here to vent her anger. This means it's a misunderstanding. Don't be angry, okay? Wan Yang, be good. I'll give you an explanation. Be good, Wan Yang, don't be angry, okay?" Shi Fengju gently coaxed her. Sang Wan was angry, but she couldn't get over it. She was in a dilemma and didn't know what to do. Her tears couldn't stop falling. "Wan Yang, let's go. Let's go to mother." Shi Fengju slightly let go of her, gently held her face, and wiped her tears. He smiled and said, "Okay, don't be sad. Let's go. My sister must have gone to my mother to complain. We can't let her confuse right and wrong. Let's go." Shi Fengju said, holding her hand and walking out. Seeing that Sang Wan hesitated and didn't want to move, Shi Fengju smiled and said, "Wan Yang, you don't want to go? Do you want everyone to misunderstand you?" Sang Wan was stunned. She thought that he was right. Putting other things aside, she had to get justice from Shi Yumei. She couldn't allow her to come to her door and humiliate her for no reason. If she didn't want to go, the truth would be told by Shi Yumei. Let's go faster." Shi Fengju saw that her expression was relaxed, so he pulled her along. Mama Li, Xing Ji, and Luya also followed. Chapter 127. In front of Wang, Shi Yumei was crying miserably in her mother's arms. Wang gently patted her back and comforted her softly. Seeing Shi Fengju and Sang Wan come in, Wang's face didn't look too good. "You're here. Sit down." Sang Wan felt that if it weren't for her second brother, her mother-in-law, who loved her daughter dearly and was easily swayed, would have already lost her temper. Shi Fengju pulled Sang Wan to sit down and pretended not to see Shi Yumei. When Shi Yumei heard them come in, her crying immediately went up 2 notches. She sobbed, "Mother," and "Make the decision." "All right, Alright, stop crying. You've cried yourself hoarse. Wang looked at her son who didn't look too good and her daughter-in-law who was looking down. She patted her daughter's back and comforted her. Mother, I think it's better for me and old master to leave the Shi family. We don't want to be disliked and run on by others. A married daughter is like spilled water. I'm so silly. Why should I ask others to treat me as part of the Shi family? Shi Yumei sat up and sobbed. Don't talk nonsense. Wang said angrily, can't our Shi family afford to raise our own grandaunt? We'll be a joke if this gets out. Yumei, you've never been an outsider in this family. Don't think too much. If you've been wronged, Mother will make the decision for you. Mother. Shi Yumei's nose turned sour and tears rolled down her cheeks again. Big sister, if you've been wronged, not only Mother, but I will also make the decision for you. What happened today? You should at least tell me. Shi Fengju sighed. Wang was stunned and asked in surprise, You don't know what happened? Mother, ask eldest sister. Did she tell me anything about it? Shi Yumei said angrily, What's there to say? Will you really make the decision for me? Now that you have a wife, how could you still remember me, your elder sister? Sister, if you insist on saying so, then I have nothing to say. Shi Fengju shrugged. If you don't like staying at home, then go back to Mengxian. I've already settled all your debts. I'll get someone to buy new houses and land for you. You. Shi Yumei was stunned. Big sister. Shi Fengju interrupted her calmly. Dare I ask eldest sister, not to mention the past few years, have I ever treated eldest sister unfairly while you've been living in the manor? No, you're very good to us, Shi Yumei said softly. Do you think I'm still qualified to be your brother and sister? What are you talking about? Shi Yumei said anxiously. I never said you were bad. If that's the case, why didn't eldest sister tell me that you've been wronged? Why are you so sure that I won't make the decision for you? Wang was touched by Shi Fengju's words and immediately thought of all the good things about him. She nodded and said, Yes, Yumei, Shi Fengju is right. You're related by blood. If there's anything, just say it. How can you hurt your younger brother's heart like this? Eldest sister, tell me. I want to hear it now. Shi Fengju looked straight at her and said seriously. Shi Yumei could only hold back the words she wanted to say to Sangwan and said, Okay, I'll wait for you to make the decision. My family's master and my third brother were chatting happily, but your top scorer wife's uncle tried to sow discord between them. She didn't allow my third brother to interact with my family's master, saying that my family's master was useless, pedantic, and a disgrace to all scholars. Tell me, why would an outsider like him dare to do that? Other than being complacent because he got JUN, there must be someone behind him. Someone dislikes the two of us and is trying to chase us away. Shi Yumei glared at Sangwan hatefully. Eldest sister, did you hear it with your own ears? Humph. If I heard it with my own ears, I would have given him a good slap in the morning. Why would I wait until now? Why, do you think I'm lying? Shi Yumei widened her eyes. Eldest sister, since you didn't hear it with your own ears, I want to know who told you about it? Eldest sister, tell me and I'll call someone over to clarify things. Shi Yumei obviously wouldn't say that it was her husband. Since Shi Fengju said so, she didn't dare to point at anyone. She could only say vaguely, In any case, I just know about it. I've already told you, so are you going to help me make the decision? Shi Fengju didn't speak and looked at Wang. Wang sighed softly and frowned. Yumei, you're too willful. What do you mean by this? No matter how stupid Wang was, she understood that her daughter was obviously chasing the wind. Mother. You don't believe me either, right? Shi Yumei was anxious. Eldest sister, don't tell me it was brother-in-law who told you these words? Shi Fengju suddenly asked. No. He's an honest person, so how could he say such things? Even if he was wronged, he would swallow it. Shi Yumei flatly denied. That's simple. Shi Fengju said lightly, I don't want anyone to be wronged or wronged in this matter. It's better to get to the bottom of this. Let's ask brother-in-law to come over now. Or, I can ask the housekeeper to bring the servants of Banana Courtyard away for questioning. I believe the truth will come to light eventually. Sure Yu Mei was instantly enraged. She thought to herself, why can't I say it? There's no need to ask. Yes, your brother-in-law did complain to me, but that's all. He even advised me to keep the peace. I'm the one who can't take this lying down. I can't stand some frivolous people. I don't think second brother-in-law is such a person. Feng Hua has been praising him. Is there some misunderstanding? Wang hurriedly said. Mother. Sure Yu Mei was so angry that she couldn't speak. I think so too. Shi Fengju said, eldest sister, brother-in-law is quite different in age from third brother and second brother. It's normal that they don't get along. This isn't a big deal, so why are you so angry? Second brother is a guest, and he's only been here for a few days. How could he instigate Feng Hua? Shi Yu Mei said angrily, why do you trust him so much? You'd rather trust an outsider than me. It's easy to know a person's face, but not his heart. Who knows what he's thinking? Shut up. Wang said coldly, Yu Mei, you're becoming more and more outrageous. Mother, when third brother comes back, call him over and ask him clearly. See if second brother said anything to third brother. Eldest sister, you can't not trust third brother's words, right? Good. Shi Yu Mei said proudly, that's right. Then we'll wait for third brother to come back and ask him. If there's such a thing, I'll deal with it myself. I promise to give you a satisfactory explanation. If you've wrongly accused someone, what will you do? Shi Fengju asked. Shi Yu Mei snorted, if I've wrongly accused someone, I'll apologize. Is that okay? Second brother is a guest, so we'll ask third brother in private. It's inconvenient for second brother to know. If you've wrongly accused someone, then you'll have to apologize to Wan Yang. What? Shi Yu Mei widened her eyes in disbelief and pointed at Sang Wan. I have to apologize to her. Can't I? Shi Fengju said lightly, eldest sister, Wan Yang is your sister-in-law, our Shi family's eldest daughter-in-law. You rushed into Ning Garden, scolded, and even hit her. Eldest sister, how is Wan Yang going to manage her subordinates in the future? Where's her dignity? If this were to spread out, what will others think of our Shi family? What will they think of me? Isn't it a joke for a biological sister and her own daughter-in-law to quarrel like this? Wang was shocked. Didn't Yu Mei go to Ning Garden to seek justice? What scolding, questioning, and even hitting her? Shi Fengju quietly nudged Sang Wan. Although Sang Wan was annoyed, she had no choice but to stand up and say, Mother, this matter has already passed. Let's not talk about it. Who wants your fake kindness? Shi Yu Mei did not appreciate it. You shut up. Wang was angry and anxious. She said angrily, to think that I wanted to stand up for you just now. So you're the one who wrongly accused Wan Yang. If you continue to make a fuss, I won't bother with you anymore. Sister, Wan Yang is my wife. Even if she really offended you, you should tell me. You embarrassed her like that, but have you ever thought about your brother's face? Shi Fengju said with dissatisfaction. Fengju is right. Wang was so angry that she did not know what to say. Seeing that Sang Wan was still standing there, she beckoned her to come closer and said gently, Wan Yang, good child, don't feel wronged. Mother knows that you're magnanimous, so don't argue with your sister, okay? Although Wang was angry, she could not disregard her daughter's face. Although it was reasonable for her daughter to apologize to her daughter-in-law, her daughter was still living in her mother's house. She was afraid that the servants would dislike her even more. In the end, she still felt sorry for her daughter. Mother, Wan Yang is fine. Sang Wan forced a smile, but her heart was cold. After all, there was a difference between relatives and strangers. Even if she made a fuss, what could she do? Seeing her like this, Wang felt even more apologetic and said gently, Okay, Mother knows that you're the most reasonable. Good child, Mother won't let you feel wronged again." As she said that, she ordered Nanny Feng to bring out a brocade box. When she opened the box, there was a dazzling golden phoenix hairpin. Wang personally handed it to Wan Yang and said with a smile, "This pair of hairpins is said to be the favorite of the imperial concubines in the previous dynasty. This child, Fengju, spent tens of thousands of silvers to buy it for me on my 50th birthday. I have no use for it, so I'll give it to you today. Come, Mother will put it on for you." Since this is Mother's birthday gift, how can Wan Yang accept it? Sang Wan quickly declined. What use would she have for such a thing? It was just a gift. What she did not know was that Shi Yumei was already jealous to the point that her eyes were red. She had asked her mother for this golden phoenix hairpin many times, but every time, Wang would vaguely refuse to give it to her. She did not expect that she would be willing to give it to Sang Wan. This woman, what kind of tricks did she use? Mother is giving it to you, so why are you still refusing? Come, quickly, Mother will put it on for you. Wang smiled and waved her hand. Sang Wan was helpless and could only answer with a yes. She slightly bent her knees and leaned forward. Wang Shi carefully placed the dangling hair ornament on Sang Wan's left temple. The large pearl hanging from her phoenix mouth almost reached her shoulder. Swaying gently, it complemented Sang Wan's face. Chapter 128. Good, good. Wang smiled and said, "Our Wan Yang is indeed beautiful, no one can compare to her." As she spoke, she ordered someone to help her sit down. Wang then turned to Shi Yumei and said, "In the future, if you feel wronged, you can tell me or your brother. Don't be rude and make a scene. You're the eldest daughter of the Shi family, not a shrew." "Yes." Shi Yumei swallowed her anger and lowered her head. "This matter ends here." Wang waved her hand and said, "All of you can go back now, I'm having a headache from all this. Fengju, accompany Wan Yang back." Shi Fengju nodded and left with Sang Wan. Once they were out of the courtyard, Sang Wan immediately distanced herself from Shi Fengju and held onto Lu Ya's hand as they walked without a word. Shi Fengju opened his mouth to speak, but he held himself back with a bitter smile. He knew that she was wronged, but he understood his sister's temper even more. In front of his sister, even if he wanted to help Wan Yang, he couldn't say it too bluntly. Otherwise, who knew what his sister would do in the future? After all, she was his biological sister, and his mother doted on her so much. What could he do to her? "Young master, eldest Missy's temper," Mama Li tugged at Shi Fengju and sighed softly. "You have to persuade her more. If this happened a few more times, young mistress would lose all her face. Today's matter, the old slave has to say it even if he doesn't want to. This is clearly eldest Missy's fault, so she can't be blamed for being angry. Fortunately, that slap didn't land on young mistress's face, or else young mistress wouldn't be able to face anyone. Nanny, how can I not know that Wan Yang is wronged? But big sister is still big sister, and there's still my mother," Shi Fengju said. "Nanny, help me persuade Wan Yang, I'll apologize to her later." "What's the use of you apologizing? It's not your fault." Mama Li couldn't help but smile as well. She sighed and said, "These past few days, old slave Rijong was very happy to see you and young mistress getting along so well. Who knew that something like this would happen? But you are right. The old slave also knows that you are in a difficult position. Eldest young master, haven't you thought about why eldest Missy is so against young mistress?" Shi Fengju frowned and sighed. "My sister has always been against this marriage. She has always been prejudiced against Wan Yang." Speaking of this, Shi Fengju felt that he had treated Sang Wan unfairly. Wasn't she the same as her sister in the past? She vented all her anger on Sang Wan, but how could Sang Wan be treated unjustly? This marriage was decided by the elders. He couldn't change it, and neither could she. But he had vented his anger on her, and she had no choice but to accept it. It was so unfair. Perhaps this is one of the reasons. That's because eldest Missy has never seen our young mistress and doesn't know her well. Young mistress is such a good person. Who wouldn't like her after interacting with her for a long time? Unless, someone is playing tricks in the middle. Mama Lee said. Nanny, are you implying something? Nanny, quickly say it. Don't keep me in suspense. Shi Fengju seemed to have something in his heart that was about to come out. Mama Lee rolled her eyes at him and snorted. Then this old woman will say it directly. Eldest young master, don't blame this old woman for speaking unpleasantly. If there was one person in the residence who wanted eldest young mistress to be bullied and disliked, who else could it be? Isn't it the master of Peony Park? Eldest Missy and Miss Gu have always been close, and now they are even closer. If you say that Miss Gu didn't say anything to eldest Missy, the old slave won't believe it. Cousin? Shi Fengju was stunned. He really hadn't thought of this. But, from what I see, Fengzi is much more obedient now. Nanny, are you thinking too much? Moreover, she's only a concubine. Wan Nyang is my wife. Even if Wan Nyang is bullied by my sister, what good will it do her? Eldest young master, look at what you're saying. Mama Lee said resentfully, think about it, if young mistress is disliked by everyone, won't it be her turn to stand up for her? Your words aren't quite right, Shi Fengju shook his head and said, if cousin really wants to deal with Wan Nyang, shouldn't she target me? Why instigate big sister? Wan Nyang is my wife. As long as I treat her well, what can big sister do? Mama Lee couldn't help but be stunned. That's right, if they were talking about fighting for favor, shouldn't Gu Fengzi be fawning over eldest young master? Instead of pestering eldest young master, she instigated eldest Missy. That didn't seem right. Just as eldest young master said, as long as eldest young master looked after eldest young mistress, a married woman like eldest Missy wouldn't be able to influence her brother's matters. And eldest young master was someone who had his own ideas. It was impossible for him to be instigated by her with just a few words. No matter what, young mistress has been wronged. Moreover, eldest Missy's attitude towards young mistress is a little strange. Originally, this shouldn't be the case. It's really strange. Ever since eldest Missy returned, young mistress has always been very good to her. She hasn't said a single word of dissatisfaction. Even the old slave saw it with his own eyes. Strange, it's really strange. Mama Lee was perplexed. Shi Fengju's mind flashed and he narrowed his eyes. Nanny, don't worry. Wan Nyang is my wife. No matter how others wrongly accuse her, I will believe in her and protect her. Quickly go back and accompany her. I won't go over for the time being. I'm afraid she'll be angrier if she sees me. All right, then the old slave will go first. You have to come back early in the afternoon and coax young mistress. Young mistress knows your difficulties and definitely won't blame you. Mama Lee nodded and left. Shi Fengju suddenly thought of Ran Jixuan and Sang Yufei. Sang Yufei had won Jie Yuan the first time, but Ran Jixuan had already failed 3 times. Comparing the two, and with his pedantic and conceited personality, it would be strange if he felt comfortable. His eldest sister was also a competitive and protective person. In addition, she already had a prejudice against Wan Nyang. Wasn't this adding fuel to the fire? Shi Fengju couldn't help but have a headache. Wan Nyang was innocent, and his eldest sister was actually quite pitiful. However, he, who was stuck in the middle, was the one who was in the most difficult position. When Mama Lee returned to Ning Garden, she saw Hong Yi carrying a wooden box out. Mama Lee saw that it was the box that Shi Fengju used to keep the account books and asked her where she was going. Hong Yi lowered her head and whispered, "Young mistress told this servant to bring it to young master's study." Mama Lee's eyes darkened. It seemed that young mistress was really angry this time. Over the past few days, eldest young master would often bring some account books back for her to help him calculate. Sometimes, the two of them would do the calculations together in the small study room. They got along very well. Once eldest young mistress got angry, she refused to touch these things anymore. Go. Young master is most likely in the study. Mama Lee nodded. Young mistress. Mama Lee came in from outside and went forward with a smile. She saw Sang Wan comforting Luya. Mama is back. Sang-won smiled. I'm afraid that you're also tired. There's nothing else for you to do now, so go and rest. The day is short, and it'll be dark soon. Old slave is fine, there's no need to rest. Young mistress, why don't you lie down for a while? Old slave will call you when it's dinner time? Mama Lee smiled. Sang-won smiled faintly. A day will pass if I sit like this. Mama Lee chatted with her for a while. She actually wanted to comfort Sang-won, but Sang-won's expression was normal. She didn't show any anger or grievance, so Mama Lee couldn't say anything. Mama Lee praised Sang-won in her heart for being magnanimous and accepting. However, she soon realized that something was wrong. Sang-won didn't treat the servants unfairly, but she clearly alienated and ignored Shi Fengju. Usually, when Shi Fengju came back, the two of them would chat and laugh, and the atmosphere would be relaxed and harmonious. However, today, the atmosphere was still relaxed and harmonious. Sang-won also came forward to help him change his outer robe, and handed him a hot towel to serve him tea. However, everyone felt that something was different. Shi Fengju chatted and laughed with her, but she only lowered her eyes and answered indifferently. She didn't say that she was ignoring him, nor did she make a fuss, but it still made people feel awkward. Shi Fengju didn't want to do anything in front of the servants, so he just sighed in his heart. He thought that his little wife was someone who didn't have a temper, but it seemed that he was wrong. After the meal, Shi Fengju forcefully pulled her into the warm room, and everyone tactfully left. Wan Nyang, are you really angry? You even asked someone to send the account books back. I was hoping that I could give the servants an accurate number tomorrow. If you don't help me, I don't know how long I'll have to calculate tonight. Shi Fengju smiled as he leaned over. Sang-won didn't give him any face and moved to the side, saying indifferently, I shouldn't be interfering with business matters. Young master, please don't make things difficult for me in the future. If someone finds out that I'm interfering with the Shi family's business one day, I don't know if there will be any loyal servants to take a slap for me. Shi Fengju didn't expect her words to be so sharp and choked. However, he also knew that it was possible for his big sister to say such words. Shi Fengju couldn't help but sigh. Wan Yang, can't you trust me just this once? It was really an accident this time. Didn't mother say that big sister won't dare to do anything to you again? What if she dares? Sang-won raised her head and stared intently at Shi Fengju. These days, Shi Yumei had made her extremely tired, and she was tired of it. This person wasn't like Gu Fengzi. Gu Fengzi didn't dare to do anything openly, and as long as she remained vigilant, Shi Yumei wouldn't be able to plot against her so easily. However, Shi Yumei was completely unscrupulous. It wasn't the first time she mocked and ridiculed her in front of her, but she really couldn't do anything to her. That was because she was the Shi family's big missy and the apple of her mother-in-law Wang's eye. She had never heard of a mother-in-law not helping her own daughter but helping her daughter-in-law. Furthermore, this daughter's misfortune was pitiful, and the daughter-in-law had everything, so shouldn't she be more magnanimous, tolerant, and patient? If she tries to do anything to me again, will you help me hit her back? Or, won't you and mother-in-law blame me if I hit her back? Sang-won sneered. Say it. You have nothing to say now. Shi Fengju said seriously, I won't let this happen. I'll instruct Mama Li and Xing Ji to serve you carefully. In short, I won't let her touch you. If this happens again, I'll send the two of them back to Mengxian. That should be fine, right? Sang-won said coldly, what's the difference between her touching the people around me and slapping me in the face? You want to send them away? Please don't. By then, even if it wasn't my idea, it would become my idea. I'm afraid that even mother would blame me. Chapter 129. Shi Fengju smiled and said, if you can't do this and can't do that, then tell me, what do you want me to do? Sang-won choked for a moment. Because, she didn't know what to do either. This Shi Yumei was like a piece of tofu that had fallen into a pile of ashes. She couldn't be praised nor beaten. Shi Fengju sighed softly and placed his hand gently on Sang-won's shoulder. Even when Sang-won turned away, he wasn't angry and continued, "My big sister's nature isn't bad. She's just stubborn and straightforward. Her words are a little unrestrained and she doesn't care if people can take it or not, let alone give people face. Wan Yang, she's just prejudiced against you. I think, if she understands you, she won't treat you like this. I'll try my best to let her understand you and let her know that you're my, no need." Sang-won became impatient. "I didn't expect that. Since you know her temper, isn't it too ridiculous to think that you can change her? Besides, there doesn't seem to be a need for that." "Wan Yang, what do you mean by that?" Shi Fengju's expression changed slightly. There wasn't a need for that. Could it be that she still wanted to leave him? "Nothing." Sang-won shook her head and said lightly, "Your third brother and my second brother are back, right? How did the two of you confront each other? What was the result?" "Wan Yang," Shi Fengju smiled bitterly and said, "Didn't mother say that this matter is over? Why do you have to complicate things?" Sang-won stared at him in disbelief and said coldly, "I didn't say anything. Why can't you even tell me the result? But I believe in my second brother's character. I don't need to ask you to know. I just want to ask you, if this matter is our fault, will your big sister let it go?" "Wan Yang." Shi Fengju stared at her and said seriously, "You're the eldest daughter-in-law of the Shi family. It's inevitable that you'll be wronged. Some things, you don't have to say any more." Sang-won felt a burst of bitterness in her heart. In the eyes of outsiders, she was the young mistress of the family who lived a life of luxury and ordered servants around. But clearly, she had suffered many grievances in secret, hadn't she? Even if there was only a thin layer of window paper covering it and not tearing it apart, when had she not held the attitude of turning big problems into small ones and small ones into nothing? She pretended not to understand those sarcastic remarks and laughed it off. When she came to Ning Garden and asked for decorations and jewelry, she would give it to her. She even had her eyes on Xingji and wanted to get it in private. This time, it was even more outrageous. She rushed to the door, pointed at her nose, and started to scold and hit her. Even if she was a clay figurine, she would not have such a good temper. How could she bear it? Sang-won got up and left silently. Shi Fengju called her twice, but she didn't respond. She was too naive. She still hoped that he would change for her in this life. She had been working hard, bit by bit, but she was still too naive. Actually, all these conflicts could be easily resolved. As long as the young mistress of the Shi family was not her but Gu Fengzi, she believed that all the problems would be solved and everyone would be free, right? Sang-won finally thought it through. She was really silly. Why did she have to endure and be magnanimous? She wanted to be an evil woman. The worst outcome would be a divorce letter. Would her brother and sister-in-law not even give her a bowl of rice? In any case, her two brothers and sister-in-law would not agree with her swallowing her anger and being bullied. Shi Fengju sat alone in the warm room for a long time, holding his forehead and sighing from time to time. This matter was much more difficult than business. It gave him a headache and he couldn't think of a solution. His wife was angry and his sister was dissatisfied. But if it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't bear to hurt anyone, why would he be so conflicted? However, none of them understood his difficulties and blamed him on both sides. It was hard to be a good person. When Shi Fengju returned to his room to rest, the curtain had already been lowered and Sang-won had already fallen asleep. He gently lifted a corner of the curtain. Sure enough, this woman did not leave him any space like she did for the past few days. Shi Fengju hesitated for a long time, not knowing if he should thicken his skin and squeeze in or obediently continue sleeping on the floor. Sang-won felt someone standing beside her and unconsciously opened her eyes. "Wan Yang," Shi Fengju saw that she was awake and smiled. "Good Wan Yang, look at the cold weather. Give me some space. I promise I won't disturb you." Sang-won did not want to see him at this moment, so how could she be willing to lie on the same bed with him? This bastard had been acting pitiful and using flowery words these past few days, coaxing her until her heart softened. It seemed that there was no need for that. "This is your room. If you want to come up, I can't stop you. I'll let you have it." Sang Wan said as she got up to get off the bed. Where are you going? Shi Fengju anxiously held her down. To make room for you. Sang Wan said indifferently. You sleep on the bed. I'll sleep on the bottom. Forget it. You sleep. Shi Fengju could not help but feel a little angry. With a sullen face, he threw down the curtain and angrily opened the cabinet to sleep on the floor. Sang Wan ignored him and continued to lie down to sleep. A cold war began between the two of them. The atmosphere in Ning Garden had also become strange. Although the two masters were still courteous on the surface, it made people feel uncomfortable when they were in the middle of it. After asking Shi Fenghua and knowing that it was a misunderstanding, Shi Yumei felt embarrassed and said, Then why didn't you call your brother-in-law when you went out today? What was the meaning of just leaving him behind? Shi Fenghua did not have the nerve to say that they had deliberately left his brother-in-law behind. He could only say, Our classmates at school wanted to see Jiuan Sang. They specifically said that only second brother Sang could go. I couldn't do anything about it. Shi Yumei saw that her younger brother was so confident and had nothing else to say. She could only drop the subject. Shi Fengju said, Big sister, I can see that brother-in-law's age is quite different from second uncle and third brothers, and their experiences are different as well. What topics would brother-in-law have to talk about with them? Tell brother-in-law not to feel embarrassed and to work hard in Banana Courtyard. He doesn't need to accompany them all day because of his face. These words were simply timely rain in a timely manner. Shi Fenghua could not wait and said, That's right, that's right. Big sister, brother-in-law's words are too profound. We don't understand. Also, it would be embarrassing to delay brother-in-law's time. There's no need to let him come over in the future. Really? You don't understand what he's saying? Shi Yumei was delighted and hurriedly asked, Then did Jiuan Sang say the same thing? Of course. Shi Fenghua smiled. Like I said, your brother-in-law is truly talented. Shi Yumei was very pleased with herself. She generously patted Shi Fenghua's shoulder and said, You are my younger brother. We are family. It is only right for your brother-in-law to give you pointers. How is this considered delaying his time? But, Humph, we can't let that Sang family member get away with this. If he hears about it, he will get away with it. When he leaves, you can let your brother-in-law give you some pointers alone. Who knows? Maybe our family will have a real Jiuan Sang next year. We don't need to bask in other people's glory. Shi Fenghua smiled vaguely. He thought to himself, once second brother Sang leaves, I should hurry back to school. He could not help but sympathize with his sister. Why did she have to make such a marriage in the first place? It's good that our Fenghua is able to become Jiuan Sang. Wang loved to hear such words, but she reprimanded Shi Yumei. You too. In the future, don't say such things to the Sang family. Our two families are now in-laws. If Wan Yang hears what you said, how will she feel? Mother is already at this age. How long can I protect you for? In the future, you will have to rely on Wan Yang to take care of you. Who needs her to take care of me? Shi Yumei snorted. Isn't Fengju and Fenghua my younger brothers? Besides, there's still cousin Fengzi. Shi Yumei, don't care about her. Yumei. Wang's face darkened. Don't speak nonsense. No matter what, Wan Yang is now the Shi family's young mistress. If you keep acting like this, where is her authority? How is she going to manage this family? Then what does it have to do with me if she can't stand up? If she can stand up, what can I do to her? Mother, you can't blame me for everything. Shi Yumei was indignant. Wang was so angry that she could not speak. Mother, don't say such discouraging words. Your body is still fine, and you still have a lot of blessings to enjoy. At the very least, third brother has to fight for a title for you, right? What's the point of saying such things? Shi Fengju laughed. If that day really comes, I'll be able to die in peace. Wang Shi couldn't help beaming with joy. Mother, Big brother just told me not to say such things, but you're doing it again. Your son will definitely not disappoint mother. Shi Fenghua's spirits were lifted and he quickly smiled. That's right, mother. Third brother is so smart, there will definitely be such a day. Shi Yumei also laughed. Shi Fengju then turned to Shi Yumei and said, Big sister, we are siblings from the same mother. The door of this family will always be open to you, and no one in this family will make you angry or bully you. I knew it, I didn't dote on my brother for nothing. Shi Yumei's heart felt warm and her eyes could not help but moisten. Wang was also very gratified when she heard it. Compared to Sang Wan, she was more concerned about her son's attitude. Since her son said so, her heart was no longer troubled. If big sister suffers from any grievances in the future, can you tell me first? I will definitely seek justice for big sister. What he meant was, don't be impulsive and don't do it yourself. At the end of the day, you're still protecting Sang Wan. Shi Yumei's face suddenly turned ugly. Wang agreed and nodded repeatedly, Fengju is right. That's how it should be. Since mother has said so, what else can I say? Shi Yumei rolled her eyes at Shi Fengju. All right. I won't find trouble with her in the future. Big sister. Shi Fengju choked and could only smile bitterly. With her straightforward personality, he really didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Shi Yumei was originally a little nervous, afraid that her brother would remember that she had to apologize to Sang Wan, who knew that Shi Fengju only joked about other things and did not mention a word about the apology. Shi Yumei was secretly relieved. Thinking about it again, she was the eldest daughter of the Shi family. How could she apologize to the Sang family's lass for no reason? She was too naive. Of course, if she was wrong, then she would have to apologize to her. Shi Yumei was calm in her heart. Thus, when she met Sang Wan in the garden, she snorted arrogantly and walked past her with her head held high. She originally wanted to ridicule her, but she held back when she remembered her promise to her brother. Chapter 130. Sang Wan, on the other hand, was furious. Just yesterday, Sang Wan came knocking on her door to accuse her of being wronged and vowed that she would apologize to her if she was wrong. Today, when they met, not only did Sang Wan avoid her with a guilty conscience, she even dared to be so arrogant. Did she really think that Sang Wan was a pushover? Big sister. Sang Wan turned around and called out to Shi Yumei. Shi Yumei stopped and turned around to stare coldly at Sang Wan. She raised her eyebrows and said, Are you calling me? Is something the matter? Yes. There's something I want to tell big sister. Sang Wan nodded and smiled. She signaled the servants to leave and walked to the side of the path. Can big sister come over for a moment? Just say what you want to say. Why are you being so mysterious? Shi Yumei said as she walked towards her. With the cover of a bunch of camellias that were taller than a person's head, everyone could only vaguely see her clothes and hair. What's the truth about yesterday's matter? Big sister seems to owe me an apology? Sang Wan looked straight at Shi Yumei with an indescribable coldness. Shi Yumei had never thought that Sang Wan would have such a side to her. She suddenly widened her eyes in surprise and screamed, What did you say? Why are you so loud? Are you feeling guilty? I'm asking you, when are you going to apologize to me? Sang Wan smiled gently. You. Shi Yumei was so angry that her body trembled. Her face turned green and white as she spat on the ground. You're not worthy. Sang Wan's eyes were full of ridicule. She sneered. You said it yourself. I didn't force you. If I was the one who was wrong yesterday, would you let it go so easily? Besides, I'm the Shi family's young mistress. How am I not worthy? Mistress Ran. Shi Yumei's face turned pale. She stared at Sang Wan in disbelief. Her nose flared up and down nervously. She was so angry that she could not speak. Sang Wan's last sentence was tantamount to stabbing her heart with a knife. She was clearly telling her that in this mansion, she was the mistress of the house, and she was someone from another family. Forget it. I'm too lazy to argue with you. Sang Wan raised her eyebrows and sneered. Anyway, It's not easy for you, so I can understand. But this is the only time. Next time, don't blame me for being impolite. You, what are you? Sure you may huffed angrily. You're just a poor country bumpkin. What right do you have to strut around in our Sure family? How dare you lecture me? How dare you talk to me like that? You wicked woman from the countryside. I want Fengju to divorce you. I will definitely make him divorce you. Sangwon was also angry. She sneered and said, Yes, I am a poor country girl, so what? That's also the Sure family's young mistress, whom your Sure family welcomed with 3 matchmakers, 6 betrothal gifts and 8 palanquins. Madam Ran, it doesn't seem like it's up to a married woman to make decisions in the Sure family, right? If you can talk to me like that, why can't I talk back to you? If you want Fengju to divorce me, then go ahead and tell him. What's the use of telling me? The shock and anger in Sure Yumei's heart was like a tidal wave that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. There were simply no words to describe it. There was only an angry voice that repeatedly screamed from the bottom of her heart, This wicked woman. This wicked woman. Don't think that just because your second brother got Jiuan, you're so great. The Sure family doesn't need a relative like Jiuan to put up a front. Fengju and my cousin Fengzi are childhood sweethearts. They're innocent and affectionate. Divorcing you and marrying her, that's exactly what Fengju wants. The angrier Sangwon was, the calmer her expression. She sneered, So what if I feel great that my second brother got Juan? I'm just proud of him. If you have the ability, then your family should have one too. What's the point of being sarcastic? That Gu Fengzi is just a concubine. Even if Fengju divorces me, he won't marry her. If you don't believe me, you can ask him. Besides, times have changed. How could Fengju fancy a despicable person like Gu Fengzi? Only you can get along with her. If you don't believe me, then go ahead and say it to Fengju. Shut up. Sure Yumei pointed at her and said with a trembling voice, You dare to call me a despicable person? Sangwon, you be *tch. Sure Yumei's raised hand that was about to hit her, but it was firmly held by Sangwon. Big sister, stop making a scene. If I don't let you have your way, what can you do to me? You. Sure Yumei shook off her hand angrily and sneered, Fine, I've misjudged you. A country bumpkin is indeed a country bumpkin with no upbringing. I don't believe that Fengju will still want you after seeing your true colors. Take a mirror and look at yourself before you talk about others. Sangwon sneered disdainfully and said, If you think he will believe you, then go ahead and say it. Don't provoke me in the future. It's best if we don't cross each other's paths. Otherwise, don't blame me. I don't believe you can do anything to me. Just by you. My mother isn't dead yet. You don't have the final say in this household. Sure Yumei shouted angrily. You can give it a try. Sangwon said coldly and left. That wicked woman. That wicked woman. Sure Yumei was so angry that her legs went soft and she almost fell to the ground. It wasn't until her maidservant came to support her that she let out a long sigh and left angrily. Sure Yumei originally wanted to go to Peony Park to tell Gu Fengzi about this matter and discuss countermeasures with Gu Fengzi. But she suddenly changed her mind. She was ridiculed and humiliated by Sangwon. How could she let others know about such a shameful thing? No. No one but herself could know about it. Otherwise, if those servants who wanted to curry favor with Sangwon were to find out, who knew what they would say about her? She was the eldest daughter of the Sure family. How could she let others gossip about her? Let's go back. Sure Yumei let out a long sigh. Old mistress, aren't you going to stroll around the garden? Xiao Shuang smiled. What stroll? Sure Yumei's anger was reignited and she sneered, What's there to stroll around in other people's gardens? Meeting Xiao Shuang's startled eyes, Sure Yumei regretted her slip of the tongue and felt that it was meaningless. She pointed her finger at Xiao Shuang's forehead. You talk too much. Go back. Sangwon vented the pent-up anger in her heart. She was happy at that time, but after that, she felt a little regretful and uneasy. She thought to herself, now that she has something to use against me, I don't know how she will complain to mother-in-law and young master. Forget it. She had already said what she should and shouldn't say. She couldn't control what she wanted to do. At most, she would just write a divorce letter. Sang-won calmly waited for the storm to come. Unexpectedly, a day passed peacefully, and nothing happened. Mother-in-law did not send anyone to summon her, and Fengju did not mention a word when he came back at night. Lying in bed at night, Sang-won still felt like she was in a dream. After breakfast the next day, she went to pay her respects to mother-in-law. Yume's face changed slightly when she saw her. She turned her face away and ignored her, but she did not speak in a strange way like she did in the past. Sang-won's heart was suddenly enlightened. So she did not tell anyone about what happened yesterday. It was inevitable that she would hate her, but it seemed that she was more afraid. At least, she did not dare to ridicule and humiliate her so blatantly. She had to admit that some people were really despicable. Sang-won sneered in her heart. Daughter-in-law pays respect to mother. Sang-won went forward and curtsied. Well, good, get up. Sit down and talk. Wong smiled as usual and raised her hand. Then, as usual, she chatted with Sang-won about trivial matters. The only difference was that Yume was particularly silent today. She sat beside Wong and did not say a word. Yume, what's wrong? Did something happen? Wong finally noticed her daughter's abnormality and asked with concern. Yume glanced at Sang-won and saw that Sang-won was still smiling infuriatingly. She could not help but feel aggrieved and snorted, Nothing. I just saw a fly yesterday and felt disgusted. You're talking nonsense again. Wong laughed and said, How could there be a fly in this season? Even if there was, would you feel disgusted after seeing it yesterday? It's just a fly. Why are you so calculative? You're all listless. Won-young, don't you think so? Sang-won smiled and said, Mother is right. But there are no absolutes in this world. Not to mention Big Sister, I also saw a fly yesterday. This kind of thing is the most annoying and disgusting. It can't be beaten or driven away. It buzzes around people indiscriminately. It's very annoying. No wonder Big Sister is in a bad mood today. Yume stared at Sang-won with her eyes wide open. She choked and could not say anything. Wang Shi took it seriously and said in surprise, Is that so? What a coincidence. Sang-won smiled and said, But Won-young didn't take it seriously and didn't care. I didn't think it would affect Big Sister. If Big Sister is not feeling well, then have a good rest. Mother, I won't disturb you anymore. I'll go back first. Hee, go. Wong smiled and waved her hand. Sang-won smiled and left. Suddenly, she turned around and smiled at Yume. All right, Big Sister. If there are flies disturbing Big Sister's mood again, there must be a problem with the sanitation of our residence. Don't forget to tell me so that I can send people to carefully clean and disinfect everywhere. Yume's face became even uglier. She snorted and did not say anything. Yume, what's wrong with you? Wong pushed Yume and said with a frown, Won-young has good intentions. How can you be like this? Hee, Won-young, it's okay. You go do what you need to do. Ah, your Big Sister's temper is like this. Mother, maybe Big Sister is in a bad mood today because of the flies. How can I argue with Big Sister? Then I'll go first. Sang-won smiled and turned to leave. Hypocrite. Yume finally couldn't hold back her anger. As soon as Sang-won went out, she said coldly, Yume. Wong scolded with a sullen face. Why is your temper becoming more and more strange? Won-young has good intentions. How can you say that? What will Won-young think if she hears you? Mother, don't worry. Yume sneered and said, She's powerful. She won't be defeated so easily. You're worrying too much. Presumptuous. The more you speak, the more outrageous you are. Wang slammed the tea table and shouted with a cold face, "You may. I'm warning you, don't speak with such sarcasm in the future. What did Wan Nyong do to you? Why are you always picking on her? Just take the matter of the day before yesterday. After that, she didn't mention it at all. She also didn't force you to apologize. Hasn't she been patient enough? You're her elder sister, but you don't have the least bit of tolerance. You're still pushing her around. To be honest, if the matter of the day before yesterday was reversed, would you have let her go so easily? Ah." Chapter 131. Mother, you're also helping her. You're also siding with her. Yu Mei was both embarrassed and angry, and her eyes turned red. Wang's heart softened, but she hardened her heart and snorted coldly, "I'm not siding with anyone, I'm just stating facts. You're too unreasonable." Fine. You're all disgusted with me. I'll leave, all right." Yu Mei cried as she got up. "Stop right there." Wang was so angry that her voice trembled. Fine. You even dare to throw a tantrum in front of me, right? In this family, you're the ancestor, you're the bodhisattva. Even I have to look at your face and follow your wishes. I can't say anything about whether you're right or not. Fine. Leave right now." Yu Mei was stunned for a moment, and her crying stopped abruptly. Nanny Jiang quickly went forward to soothe Wang's chest. "Old mistress, please calm down. Old mistress, don't be angry. Eldest Missy is your biological daughter, she should respect and be filial to you, how could she be like this? Old mistress, please don't say such words out of anger. How would eldest Missy feel if she were to hear it? Don't try to persuade me." Wang wiped her tears and said, "If she really respects me and treats me as her mother, she wouldn't be making such a fuss. She's clearly not letting me live a peaceful life." "How could that be? Old mistress, you're thinking too much." Nanny Jiang hurriedly coaxed Wang before turning to Yu Mei. "Eldest Missy, please persuade old mistress. Old mistress really dotes on you." "Mother, it's my fault, I'm sorry. Don't be sad, don't cry." Yu Mei hurriedly knelt in front of Wang and pulled on her sleeves. "What's there to be sad about? Isn't it all for you?" Wang cried, "You two sisters-in-law get along so well, and even Fengzi respects Wan Nyong so much, so why are you making such a fuss? Mother doesn't care what the two of you thought in the past, but Wan Nyong is now our Shi family's daughter-in-law. She has done well in everything, and she treats your younger brother with respect. How good would it be to live peacefully? You just have to stir up trouble every other day." Wan Nyong is still considered a good person. She never said anything, but you can't always be like this. When will these days end? Besides, what can you change by doing this? It would only add to everyone's worries. You may, do you know that you're clearly making things difficult for your mother and brother? Mother, I won't, okay? Hearing her mother's words, Yu Mei felt bitter and bitter. She had no choice but to give in and coax her mother, but she was even more dissatisfied and annoyed. She thought angrily, Sang Wan is indeed not a simple woman. Even mother has been bewitched by her. Just based on her true colors yesterday, she won't treat me well. She wants to deal with me, but she doesn't have the final say in this family. There's still mother and brother. Otherwise, why would she be so courteous to me? If only you could understand mother's painstaking efforts. Wang gradually stopped crying and said, "That way, she can take care of you in the future. Then mother will be relieved. After all, she's the one in charge of the household. Even if mother manages the household now, won't it still be handed over to her in the future? Your younger brother is a grown man. He's so busy outside that he can't even take care of himself. How can he take care of the daily chores? He has to rely on Wan Nyong. We won't be staying here forever. Yu Mei refused to accept. When my husband becomes an official, we'll naturally leave. In other words, who needs her to take care of them? We'll talk about it when that day comes. Wang snorted and said, Mother. Sure you may felt hurt. Mother, do you look down on my husband so much? Does my husband deserve to be unable to pass the imperial examinations for the rest of his life? I don't believe it. Wang regretted her slip of the tongue. She shouldn't have hurt her daughter like that. Even though she didn't think highly of Ran Jixian, she could only coax her daughter and sigh, Mother didn't say that. If that's not the case, then who knows what will happen in the future. It's never wrong to be more prepared. Mother. Sure Yu Mei was angry. After all, you just don't believe him. All right. Wang frowned and said, What I mean is that you can never be too prepared. What if, no, we'll talk about it when he passes the imperial examinations. Don't you still have to stay at home? Can't you just give Mother a few days of comfort? I say, you're really strange. The one marrying Wan Yang is Fengju, and Fengju doesn't have any objections, so why are you being so picky? Sure Yu Mei opened her mouth and lowered her head. I'm feeling unjust for cousin Fengzi. Shut up. Wang's face sank again. How can you say that? Fengzi is my niece, and she grew up with Fengju. She was willing to be a concubine, and I've also promised her that when she gives birth to a son in the future, she'll be able to wear a red dress. What grievances does she have? She didn't even say anything, so who are you to poke your nose into other people's business? If you have the time, you should pay more attention to the demon in your house. I'm warning you, no matter what, Wan Yang is a wife, and Fengzi is a concubine. Since ancient times, there has been a difference between a wife and a concubine. Once there's a change, the family will be in chaos. Our Shi family can't do something like spoiling the concubine and neglecting the wife. But Fengzi and my brother are a couple. It's clearly Sang Wan who's the one at fault. The marriage agreement between the two families was set by your grandfather when he was still alive. Are you going to blame your grandfather too? Wang glared at her and sighed softly. Speaking of which, I'm also at fault. If I knew that Fengzi and Fengju would develop to this stage, I wouldn't have let them interact so frequently. I only treated it as a child's family, but who knew? Don't mention this matter again in the future, do you hear me? Sure Yu Mei was speechless for a moment, and she said unhappily, Yes, I hear you. In the Shi family's second household, concubine Feng was attentively serving Second Lord Shi tea and listening to him talk about his treasured bird and fish. As he talked about the newly acquired canary, Second Lord Shi smiled and said, Speaking of which, this matter is also thanks to our young mistress's brother. Kiki, if not for him, that country bumpkin with the surname Jean wouldn't have given it to me so easily. Kiki, when this kid becomes a scholar or a top scholar next year, our Shi family will also be able to bask in his glory. Concubine Feng finally found an opportunity to speak the words that she had been thinking about for a long time. She quickly took the opportunity to praise Sang Yufei greatly and said, Truly, young mistress's appearance, character, and way of dealing with people are truly worthy of respect. Who would have thought that her brother would also be so promising and so talented, truly a dragon among men? I wonder which family's young mistress will be so lucky in the future. Why? Second Lord Shi pinched concubine Feng's fair and tender cheeks and said with a smile that didn't look like a smile, Don't tell me you've taken a fancy to her? Why don't I learn from our family's young master and give a concubine a gift? Old master. Concubine Feng repeatedly spat and glared at Second Lord Shi. What nonsense are you talking about? You're not being serious. As she said that, she giggled and winked at him. Even if I'm willing, would she fancy me? I'd better serve you honestly, old master. Kiki, at least you have some self-awareness. Second Lord Shi smiled and said, If I were like him, I wouldn't want you either. You. Concubine Feng said angrily, Old master, I've at least given birth to a daughter for you, how can you say that about me? Isn't it just a joke? Look at how anxious you are. Second Lord Shi laughed. Your joke isn't funny at all. Concubine Feng rolled her eyes at him. Why? Are you angry? Second Lord Shi smiled and pinched her again. He laughed and said, You still have the nerve to blame me? Isn't it all because of your praises for no reason? I have something to discuss with you. You're good, now you're making things up about me. Concubine Fong angrily turned her head away to avoid his hand and said coldly. Second Lord She's temper was like this. He liked to retreat in order to advance. Seeing this, not only did he not get angry, he quickly went up to Concubine Fong and comforted her. He then asked her what she wanted to discuss with him. Concubine Fong saw that he was about to calm down and took the opportunity to act coquettishly. Then, she glanced at Second Lord She and sighed. What else could it be? With old master here, I don't have to worry about anything. It's all because of my daughter. Arue. Second Lord She was stunned. What happened to Arue? Did she get into trouble? Old master. Concubine Fong said angrily. Arue is so obedient, what trouble could she get into? Sigh, this girl is growing up day by day. It's time for her to find a good family. Logically speaking, this matter should be decided by old master and old mistress. As a concubine, it's not up to me to say anything. But Arue is my flesh and blood. How can I not love her? Second Lord She was a little displeased and disgusted at the beginning. He was about to say that old mistress would make the decision and she shouldn't worry. However, after hearing Concubine Fong's words, he couldn't bring himself to say it. Arue was her biological child. It wasn't wrong for a biological mother to care about her own child. She even knew how to respect old mistress. This was etiquette. I say, you're too impatient. How old is Arue? It's still early. Second Lord She smiled disapprovingly. Concubine Fong quickly said, Old master, Arue's nominal age is 12 this year. Next year, she'll be 13. It's not early anymore. This matter, the earlier it is decided, the earlier we can prepare for it. What's more, over the years, all the good people will be taken away by other families. Look at how impatient you are. Second Lord She laughed. Don't worry, I've doted on Arue since she was young. I can't bear to let her suffer. With our She family, do you think we won't be able to find a good son-in-law? Even if she gets married tomorrow, I'll be able to prepare her dowry overnight. What's there to prepare? Really, you've got nothing better to do but worry about it. Concubine Fong panicked and said straightforwardly, I don't mean anything else. I'm just thinking that since there's a ready-made candidate in front of us, why don't we settle it early and settle one of our worries? A ready-made candidate? Second Lord She was surprised. Chapter 132. That's right. It's young mistress's second uncle. Concubine Fong hurriedly said, Master, don't you think he's a good candidate? Second young master is a talented man, and he even passed the JUN examination. Next year, he'll definitely pass the Jinshe examination. Master, having a son-in-law who passes the Jinshe examination will be so impressive. That's right. Why didn't I think of that? Second Lord She slapped the table as if suddenly enlightened. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this was the case. He couldn't help but say happily, You're right, you're right. Our two families are already in-laws, so this can be considered even closer. Master is wise. That's exactly right. Concubine Fong saw Second Lord She agree with her, and her heart blossomed with joy. If her daughter were to become the wife of an official, wouldn't she, as her mother, be able to live a good life? But, second young master is already 19, right? Our Arue is only 12. Isn't that a little too young? Second Lord She couldn't help but feel a little regretful. If only his daughter was 2 or 3 years older. Not young, not young. Even the 13-year-old imperial concubines participated. Concubine Fong hurriedly said with a smile, This marriage can be settled first. If the Sang family is in a hurry, Arue can get married in 2 or 3 years when she's 14. If the Sang family isn't in a hurry, Arue can get married after she's of marriageable age. Our Arue is so obedient and sensible. Her character and looks are so outstanding, and she's also a proper lady from a respectable family. She's perfect for second young master. All right. Then it's settled. The more second Lord Sher listened, the more he felt that it made sense. He slapped the table and nodded with a smile. Tomorrow, I'll have someone invite second young master Sang over and talk to him face to face. Aye, master. Concubine Fong said angrily. You're too happy that you've become muddle-headed. How can you talk to him face to face? Why don't we do this? I'll find an excuse to meet our young mistress tomorrow and let her know. I'll let young mistress talk to second young master and let second young master inform his brother and sister-in-law so that they can officially send a matchmaker to propose marriage. Master, you can't make a mistake here. Our family's miss is a noble lady. How can a woman chase after a man? We have to let the man take the initiative to beg. Only then will our family's miss be dignified. Only then will Lord and Madam be dignified. Second Lord Sher laughed out loud when he heard that. He slapped his head and said, not bad, you're right. How could a woman chase after a man? Our Sher family isn't bad either. We can't let others look down on us. Of course. Concubine Fong smiled and said, Master, then this matter is settled? I'll pay Ma Am a visit tomorrow. Yes. Let's quickly settle this matter while second uncle is still in our house. Second Lord Sher said with a smile. Don't worry, old master. I understand. Concubine Fong was overjoyed. Concubine Fong was so excited that she couldn't sleep well the entire night. She only stopped after a long time with her trusted servant, Nanny Ing. When she thought of the benefits of this marriage, Concubine Fong was so happy that her heart bloomed like a flower. On the morning of the second day, Concubine Fong estimated that Sang Wan had finished handling the household affairs and was free. Concubine Fong changed into a coxcomb red robe with colorful floral prints and a light purple pleated skirt. She combed her hair into a neat bun and inserted some gold and silver jewelry into her hair. After meticulously dressing herself up, she left with Nanny Ing. Both the master and servant were a little excited. Their hearts were beating fast as they whispered to each other along the way. Nanny Ing, do you think Ma Am will be willing? Hi, don't worry. Although second Uncle Sang has won the GUN and has a bright future, our Shi family is also the richest family in Qingzhou. If we were to talk about it carefully, it's hard to say who's worse. Our fifth Missy is such a good person. This marriage is more than suitable for the old slave. This is a match made in heaven. Second Uncle Sang is not stupid. Why would he refuse? Besides, Ma Am is only in charge of passing a message. It's not up to her whether she's willing or not. Yes. Look at me. I'm spouting nonsense. Ma Am is such a good person. Just passing a message. She'll definitely help. Kiki, that's right. You're not stupid. You're happy. Yes, that's right. The two of them laughed as they spoke. Unexpectedly, the joy turned into sorrow. Before the two of them could stop laughing, they cried out in pain. It turned out that two women had somehow barged out from a small path by the side. The woman in the yellow dress accidentally bumped into Concubine Fong, while the other woman in the light blue dress stepped on Nanny Ying's foot. Ouch, it's so painful. Which blind wretched girl did it? Nanny Ying shouted as she stomped her feet. I'm sorry. Nanny, I didn't notice. The little lass quickly supported Nanny Ying. You brat you. Nanny Ying was flustered and exasperated as she glared at the lass. Just as she was about to scold her, she saw clearly that it was Shi Lian's personal maidservant, Kai Yun, and could only hold it in. Concubine Fong's waist was hurting from the collision. When she saw the mud stain on her dress from Shi Lian's foot, she was filled with hatred. However, when she saw that the one who was helping her was Shi Lian, she could only swallow her anger. Shi Lian was the young miss of the first branch of the Shi family. She was the concubine of the second branch. It was not up to her to lecture Shi Lian. She was not as stupid as concubine Shui. Sorry, it's all my fault. Concubine Fong, are you all right? Did you hurt your waist? Come, let me help you sit. Shi Lian held on to Concubine Fong's arm with a face full of embarrassment. I'm fine, I'm fine. How could I trouble third Missy? I'm really fine. Concubine Fong tried her best to squeeze out a smile. Missy, let this servant help Concubine Fong. Kai Yun quickly walked over and took over from Shi Lian's hands. She also kept apologizing to Concubine Fong. There's no need to rest. I'd better go back. I'm really fine, third Missy. You have to be more careful next time. It's not a joke if you fall. Concubine Fong's waist was throbbing with pain. Looking at her dirty dress, how could she still go to Sang Wan's place? She could only go back first. It's good that Concubine Fong is fine. Thank you for your reminder, I'll be more careful next time. Shi Lian quickly said with a smile. He had come here in high spirits, but he didn't expect to be doused with a bucket of cold water for no reason. The frustration and anger in his heart was simply indescribable. Concubine Fong supported Nanny Ing and left in a huff. This third Missy is so obedient in front of old mistress. Why is she so noisy behind her back? Really? Nanny Ing grumbled softly when they were far away. Enough. It's our fault for being careless. Don't talk nonsense. Is it something we can talk about? Concubine Fong rolled her eyes at Nanny Ing. She was also very angry. Nanny Ing quickly responded with a yes, but did not dare to make a sound. She smiled and said, Does Concubine Fong's waist hurt? Do you want me to call a physician to take a look? Concubine Fong frowned and took a deep breath. She said angrily, Don't you think it's embarrassing enough? Just ask someone to secretly get a bottle of medicinal wine for injuries. Calling a physician. Calling a physician would have to be reported to old mistress first, and old mistress would send someone to invite him. Old mistress would ask for the reason. If she knew, wouldn't she become a joke? Moreover, it was not easy to coax old master to let her take part in this marriage. She had to hide it from old mistress. If old mistress found out and was unhappy, she would take the opportunity to ruin it. That would be even worse. Yes, the old slave is muddle-headed. Nanny Ing was slow to realize and knocked her own head. Young miss, is what they said true? Seeing that Concubine Fong and her servant had walked away, Kai Yun softly asked Shi Lian. Shi Lian quickly looked around and whispered, Let's go back first. Yes, young miss. The master and servant silently returned to Fu Chu Pavilion and closed the door. Kai Yun impatiently said, Young miss, you have to think of a way. Otherwise, someone else will beat us to it. We were lucky today and happened to bump into them and hear them. Otherwise wouldn't. Enough, don't say any more. Let me be alone for a while. Shi Lian bit her lips and sighed. Kai Yun deeply stared at her, silently poured tea, and then retreated. Shi Lian instinctively placed her hand on her chest. Her heart was still thumping wildly in her chest. After a while, she let out a long sigh of relief. Shi Lian couldn't help but feel angry. Shi Rue was only 11 years old and Concubine Fong actually had this kind of idea. Second aunt didn't appear, so it must have been Concubine Fong who secretly urged second uncle. After thinking for a while, Shi Lian gritted her teeth and decided to take the risk to see Sang Yufei. She called Kai Yun over and gave her some instructions. Although Sang Yufei was with Shi Fenghua every day, there was a break after lunch. If Shi Lian wanted to see him, this was the best time. After noon, the people in each courtyard were resting or chatting in their rooms after lunch. There were very few people in the Fu. Sang Yufei's room was in the outer courtyard, but he often played in the garden during the day. Sometimes, he would rest in Shi Fenghua's sunflower garden. Sang Yufei came to a remote corner of the garden. Shi Lian was already anxiously waiting there. Ah Lian, did something happen? Sang Yufei hurriedly asked. A few months ago, Shi Lian went out of the Fu to pray and coincidentally met Sang Yufei for a walk. The two accidentally fell in love at first sight. At that time, they didn't think of anything else. After all, they didn't know if they would see each other again after parting. Unexpectedly, when Sang Yufei came, the two met again and found out that the two families were in-laws. The surprise in their hearts was indescribable. They both thought that this was the will of the heavens. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence? Although Sang Yufei was a JUN student, he was still a virgin. He was too embarrassed to ask for her hand in marriage. In his heart, he planned to officially send someone to ask for her hand in marriage after he graduated from high school and became an official. Shi Lian was overjoyed when she heard his words. She forced herself not to appear in front of him for the past few days as she was afraid that trouble would arise. At most, she would accidentally nod and greet him when they bumped into each other. Sang Yufei believed that if it wasn't for an extremely important matter, Shi Lian would never ask him to meet in private. Once this kind of private matter was exposed, neither of them would be able to resolve it. Chapter 133. N. Shi Lian did not have the time to sympathize with her husband, nor did she even have the time to greet him. She hurriedly told him what she and Kai Yun had heard. She was so anxious that she was out of her wits. Sang Lang, what should we do now? Even though concubine Fong has gone back today, she might come back tomorrow or the day after tomorrow to look for sister-in-law. At that time, won't. Sang Yufei was also stunned and did not know whether to laugh or cry. He had seen Shi Ruei at the banquet. She was still a little girl with a round face and hair. He could not help but shudder at the thought of marrying a child as his wife. Don't worry, let's think of a way. Sang Yufei comforted her, but he was not confident in his heart. However, he could not let concubine Fong speak about this matter. It was not that he was afraid that it would be difficult to refuse. After all, the age gap between him and Shi Ruei was too big, and Shi Ruei was still too young. Just based on this point, he could reject the marriage. Even if Second Lord Shi and concubine Fong were unhappy, their displeasure would be limited. After all, Shi Ruei was still too young. They could not force others to wait for 3 to 4 years. However, this way, it would be inconvenient for Sang Yufei to ask the Sang family to marry Shi Lian. Wouldn't that be a slap to the second Shi family's face? Wang was most afraid of trouble. She would definitely not want to offend her younger brother and sister-in-law. Moreover, Shi Lian was not her biological daughter. Why would she want to create trouble for her? Concubine Fong will definitely mention it again. How can I not be anxious? Shi Lian was so anxious that she almost cried. She immediately felt embarrassed and her face turned red. She lowered her head and did not know what to say. You should go back first. Let me think about it slowly. Don't worry about concubine Fong. Just pretend that you don't know about this matter. I'll go see my younger sister later and talk to her. Sang Yufei gently persuaded. Shi Lian didn't care about being reserved anymore. She looked at Sang Yufei with tears in her eyes and said, Have you figured out a way? Sang Yufei raised his eyebrows slightly and said, If worst comes to worst, I'll avoid it for now. Tomorrow, I'll leave the Shi family and go to the capital. If I leave, there's no telling where to start. Wan Yang is my younger sister. No younger sister would care about her brother's marriage. It's useless even if they told Wan Yang. Shi Lian was overjoyed, but then she said reluctantly, You're leaving so soon? Although they couldn't see each other every day, Shi Lian was in a good mood these days knowing that he lived in her house and being so close to her. It was hard for her to accept that he was leaving all of a sudden. It doesn't matter if it's a few days earlier or later. Don't worry, go back quickly and don't let anyone see you. Sang Yufei smiled. Then take care of yourself. Shi Lian sighed and hurriedly turned to leave. Sang Yufei slowly paced in the garden with his hands behind his back, deep in thought. Not long after, he changed directions and went to Ning Garden. The winter days were short, so Sang Wan was casually taking a nap in the warm room at noon. When she heard that her second brother had come, she hurriedly got up with a smile and went out to greet him. The siblings didn't need to be too polite, so they chatted together in the warm room. "Second brother, is something the matter?" Sang Wan asked with a smile after serving tea and dismissing the maidservants. "Wan Nyang, you have to help me this time." Sang Yufei took a sip of tea and told her about the matter. He didn't mention Shi Lian and only said that he overheard a maidservant from the second branch talking about her in the garden. Sang Yufei didn't want anyone to know that he and Shi Lian knew each other. He didn't want people to look down on Shi Lian because of this. This, are you sure you didn't hear wrong? Sang Wan's eyes widened in shock. Shi Rue? That playful, gluttonous little girl who was always smiling at home was clearly still a child. Even if she fell, she would cry for her wet nurse. Concubine Feng actually wanted to marry her to her second brother? In the future, she would have to call her second sister-in-law? Just thinking about it made Sang Wan shiver and goosebumps rise all over her body. I didn't hear it clearly, but it's most likely correct. Sang Yufei smiled bitterly and said, "I want to go say goodbye to First Madam right now and leave the Shi family for the capital tomorrow." "That's too hasty." Sang Wan sighed softly. "Wan Nyang, help me this time." Sang Yufei smiled and said, "You don't want to call that little girl your sister-in-law, do you?" Sang Wan smiled and said, "Actually, there's such a big age gap between the two of you. Even if you refuse, it's not a big deal. Why do you have to? But that's right, it's better to leave early. It would be awkward to stay in someone else's house after rejecting the marriage proposal. It would be better to leave quickly and be done with it." "That's right. Anyway, I was planning to leave in a few days. The earlier I go to the capital, the more likely I can find a suitable inn." Sang Yufei smiled. "Second brother's luggage and travel expenses, have they been prepared?" Sang Wan asked again when they talked about going to the capital. In fact, she really wanted to say that she would pay for the travel expenses, but when she thought of Shi Yumei's words, she forcibly suppressed those words. She didn't want to take advantage of the Shi family anymore. Sang Yufei was also afraid that she would be like this, so he quickly smiled and said, "Don't worry, big brother and sister-in-law have already prepared everything for me. I brought 300 taels of silver notes. Although the prices in the capital are more expensive, I think it's enough. You don't have to worry about me anymore." Sang Yufei sighed softly. "Logically speaking, I'm the older brother and you're the younger sister. I should be the one taking care of you, but I didn't expect you to worry about everything. There's also brother-in-law. He's done enough for our family. Good younger sister, you don't have to prepare anything for me this time. If you continue like this, I'll really feel uneasy. Second brother, then take care of yourself. I'll wait for you to pass the examinations and return home in glory." Sang Wan smiled and nodded. She felt that her words seemed to be putting too much pressure on her second brother, so she quickly smiled and said, "No matter what the result is, the most important thing is to be safe. Second brother, don't let us worry about you. You must come back early." "Don't worry. I will. You guys take care of yourselves at home too." Sang Yufei smiled. The siblings chatted and said their goodbyes. Seeing that it was about time, Sang Yufei went to inform Shi Fenghua first. Although Shi Fenghua was surprised, he insisted on leaving and could not persuade him to stay, so they could only say their goodbyes. After that, Sang Wan accompanied him to say goodbye to Wang. Wang also tried to persuade him to stay for a while. Seeing that he insisted, she sighed and said, "Second young Master Sang is right. The earlier you enter the capital, the earlier you can feel at ease. Then I won't keep second young Master Sang. Second young Master Sang, take care on the road. Our Shi family has shops in many cities on both sides of the canal. Chong Huan knows all about it. If there's anything you need, you can just look for her directly. There's no need to be polite." Sang Yufei quickly thanked her. Wang then ordered someone to send 200 taels of silver as a gift. However, Sang Yufei insisted on not accepting it, saying that he had already disturbed them for so many days in the Shi family. His heart was already uneasy and he did not dare to accept it. Wang had no choice but to give up. That night, Sangwon wrapped 2 newly made cotton robes and asked Luya to bring them to him. She told him that there were 50 taels of silver notes sewn into the hem of the robes in case of an emergency. Sang Yufei's heart was filled with warmth. She was truly his family for her to be so attentive. If he did not make a good trip to the capital this time, how could he be worthy of his brother, sister-in-law, and sister? Sang Yufei's heart suddenly tightened. The next day, Shi Fengju and Shi Fenghua personally sent him to the docks. Sangwon, Wang, and the others saw him off at the second gate. Shi Lian, however, was unable to do so and was restless in her room. When she heard from Kai Yun that he had already left, she sat there listlessly for a while. When concubine Fong found out, it was too late for regrets. Why did he leave just like that? Aya, Nanny Ing, why didn't you find out when second young Master Sang was leaving earlier? If I knew that he was leaving today, I would have crawled to Ning Garden to see young mistress yesterday. Nanny Ing thought to herself, who knows? You didn't expect it either. Concubine Fong, although second young Master Sang has left, isn't young mistress still here? Aren't first young Master Sang and first young Master Sang's wife still here? Wouldn't it be the same if you told young mistress and settled this matter with first young Master Sang and his wife? The eldest brother is like the father, and the eldest sister-in-law is like the mother. Even if second young Master Sang becomes a high-ranking official, he still has to listen to his brother and sister-in-law. That was indeed the case. A simple and honest face flashed in front of concubine Fong's eyes. That was Sang Hong. She felt more confident and smiled. That's right, that's right. This matter should be decided by the elders. It doesn't have much to do with second young Master Sang. First young Master Sang was such an honest person. How could he not be willing? Concubine Fong was full of energy. After 2 days of recuperation, she brought Nanny Ing to Ning Garden to see Sangwon. When Sangwon heard that concubine Fong wanted to see her, her heart skipped a beat. She didn't want to see her, but since she was already at her doorstep, she couldn't just send her away. She still had to give face to the second Lord Shi. She had no choice but to invite her in. What brings concubine Fong here today? You're a rare guest. Please come in and have a seat. Sangwon smiled and said, You came at the right time. I have a flower here, but no matter how I draw it, it feels like it's missing something. Concubine Fong, please give me some pointers. Kiki, young mistress is too polite. Concubine Fong's hands were famous for being skillful. She took the painting and pointed at it with a smile. This painting of a hibiscus crouching cat is really beautiful. The leaves of the hibiscus flower are a little too loose and scattered. It'll be fine after some slight adjustments. As she spoke, she excused herself and took the brush from Luya to add a few touches. Sure enough, the whole painting was much more harmonious. Concubine Fong is indeed skillful. Sangwon praised with a smile. Kiki, it's nothing. I just have nothing to do to pass the time. As time passes, you'll naturally get it. You can't say that. If you ask me, it's also about talent and comprehension. Some people can learn at once and understand with just a little bit, but some people can't reach concubine Fong's level in their lifetime. Oh, young mistress, you're really good at talking. You're making this concubine feel embarrassed. As she spoke, everyone laughed. Nanny Ing came forward with a smile and said, I've always heard that young mistress treats people with kindness. It's really our good fortune as servants to have a mistress like you in our residence. When it comes to drawing patterns, our concubine Fong isn't the best. Our 5th Mrs. pattern may be small, but it's called good. Concubine Fong's eyes lit up and she secretly praised Nanny Ing for being so skillful. She smiled sweetly and nodded. Just as she was about to change the topic to her daughter, she saw Sangwon casually smiled and said, Is that so? It seems that the environment in our residence is good. The ladies in our residence are all good at needlework. At least, they're better than me. I'm the worst at needlework. Even my maid can do it better than me. Sangwon smiled and pointed at Luya. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.